instead of working on their standard picks or finding new overpowered things that are from older champions, it's been really good.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, you guys that are here, there's a hell of a lot to see and do. There's a massive merchandising store over there. It's got all sorts of things. You can get your Blitzcrank hoodies. I can see a lot of people in the Malzahar hoodies as well. There's all kinds of hats I'm seeing right now. There's the Timo hat, which has become very common.
Rammus hats.
The Rammus hat. I like the Rammus hat. That's a pretty good one. You can even get yourself spray painted up over there. There's a body paint. I've seen quite a few people. We saw League of Legends was spray painted across people's chests yesterday, wasn't it? I mean, LOL was sprayed on there. I've seen someone with a great big TSM thing sprayed on their chest as well. These guys are not afraid to take the clothes off and get spray painted.
And on top of that, we actually have multiple broadcasts going on over here. We have Tencent in a booth. OGN has the casting lounge over there. They have 3 giant white couches that they just discuss very formally the game on. It's pretty amazing to see just the
I feel I want to go and try them.
I'm jealous, to be honest.
I'm up here on a high stool, and it's, I got to be honest, I'm not going to lie. It's pretty warm with these jackets on. So these delays make us nice, warm clothes. I'm not going to take the jacket off in a hurry, let's put it that way.
There'll be a little bit of... I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, you just leave it to the imagination.
Really, I have the undershirt on. You may have not decided to go in that way, so we'll see who had the stronger one with that.
So there's the players. You can see them on your screen. I mean, obviously there's a lot going through the minds. There's sweat on the brow, I believe, of Yellow Pete there. Froggen as well, of course, they've got the drinks in front of them. But, I mean, these situations, they happen at the end of the day. These things do happen in live events. It causes problems. And honestly, I mean, from an expert perspective, and I am going to say an expert perspective, because crowbarred in between me as I just edge to the side, is DJ Wheat. And you've been at many of these tournaments, many of these events. These things do happen when we're in live. And
it's like a giant kind of cloud came out, raining a little bit, or just kind of like taking a step back for a moment and letting the air clear, let the field kind of dry off a little bit. But this kind of stuff does happen quite a bit. I think one of the most important things to think about, though, in these types of situations is how does a team stay focused? When you're so, especially at an early portion of the game, you're thinking about what you need to do. Obviously, coming off of a loss for CLG, staying focused and not letting your mind really stray. Think about what could happen and just kind of rolling with the punches a little bit is probably one of the most important things that both the teams up there can do.
I know the very first big event I went to was, the second one was IM New York, and they had very bad internet problems at the very start there. We actually were supposed to be able to practice before the tournament, but there was so much internet outage. The internet came out, we were already 2 hours over time, and we started the game then. And personally, that did throw me off very much. I wasn't ready just to adapt. I know I need a lot of warm-up when I play. I need to get my fingers ready. I'm a slow starter in a lot, so I always play practice games. I'll actually last hit in lanes and get ready. So coming from a cold start is something you do need to prepare for. These guys have had to be sitting here for quite some time. If they've prepared for this in the past, it's going to come out to help them.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, staying in that flow, just staying warm, keeping yourself flowing. You start to get going, and then when you just stop cold, like it is a whole nother skill set. It's something that you might deal with a little bit when you're at home. I'm sure it happens to everyone. But in a game where $75,000 is on the line and potentially going to the semifinals and obviously the
fans are supporting. They're trying to keep COG EU in it right now, keeping their spirits up with that chant.
Yeah. Now, I wonder how it's kind of affecting World League a little bit, because you got to think about both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
They are up a game, but they can't get complacent right now. They can't just, we're up a game, this is fine. They've got to stay just as focused, because, one little error, one little blip in sort of their concentration, next thing you know, could be going on to a game 3, and I don't think they want to be there.
I don't think they want to be there. In terms of events, you've been to a lot of events. I don't think it's been rude. You're a well-traveled man.
Yeah.
You've been across all of the events. How would you rate this one up there right now? I mean, this is a big outdoor area. There's a ward. I've spotted a ward. It's over that side.
Checking the bush. I mean, to be frank with you, D-Man, like, the energy here is really, really quite phenomenal. The crowd has been amazing from day 1 all the way to day 3. the team support that I've seen and has been just incredible as well. Obviously, you've got people here. There's signs. I saw shirtless guys with team logos painted on their chest. You know, like to me, that really is representative of what I often see if I tune into an American football game or
sport.
when I'm watching the World Cup. So, you know, that says a lot to me that the fans are willing to put that much support, that much into cheering for their fans, their favorite player, etc. But, you know, frankly, the production has been great. The games themselves have been good. Obviously, with $2 million on the line, it just adds that certain, you know, something special. And I really, really am honored to be a part of this event.
I'm really honored to be in an event like this too. I'm thinking back to even the start of League of Legends tournaments that I was involved with. From as a casting perspective, even I was casting in my bedroom with D-Man for some online event, and then you come out to this, and we broke records for streaming the other day. There were over 500,000 concurrents across all of the streams. It was absolutely incredible support, and even just the intelligence of the viewers is blowing me away. I sit in the stands and I see people saying things about the game that I agree with, or I go, oh yeah, that's a good point, right? Yeah. It's just everyone's getting smarter. Everyone's played for so long. We have really great fans.
I mean, it's growing. Obviously, the audience is growing. Not only the people here, you mentioned 13 different languages this is going out to. Truly a global event on that scale, and I think that's you know, pretty magical thing.
And just look at all these signs. I mean, I've not seen things like this other than StarCraft. I think it's safe we can mention that. I don't think I've ever seen it in any FPS games, which for me is a bit of a shame because I'm an FPS guy. I've come an FPS guy. You're an FPS guy. You've done many Quake cons. Have you ever seen such a crazy reaction to the games? I mean, obviously, when you see those big killer shots, yes. Yeah, I mean, in terms of, you know, fan support.
Sure. I mean, you know, we've seen in some cases, but in this case, you know, even hearing a cheer for a band, hearing a cheer for a champ select, like that's a cool thing. Like early level 1 invasions, like to see that sort of effort go into the exact same cheer that someone gives, say, when the Nexus finally goes down is really great. And you know, to me, it just shows that people really love the game. And I think that's, you know, one of the most important things for any fan that comes out here is that they're probably here because they love playing the game, whether it be alone or with their friends, etc. But more importantly, they appreciate the level of competition that's being displayed here. And for me, that is one of the reasons why I love esports so much, is because I love to be able to watch these players and look on and go, God, I wish I could do that. I wish I could make those types of shots. I want to go home. I want to play so I can, you know, improve myself. And, you know, I don't know if that's the same for other people, but for me, that's really one of the driving reasons I like to watch these guys, is because they just impress the pants off me.
And in terms of, you know, a viewer experience, obviously, you guys at home watching the stream, you'll be seeing this in English. Well, yeah, that's a given. But we've also got, off to the left of us, there's a stage setup. It is, I believe, the Tencent just across to the left there. Full-on Chinese stream, you know, just as much as we're giving it, they are giving it the same. They're having to fill it out with the beans. We're seeing, obviously, OGN with their beautiful white settees. I'm telling you, I'm going to go sit over there. I'm just going to crash the set and just sort of sit down. There is the Chinese, there is Tencent, giving us a wave. So they're broadcasting out to China. And then there you go, we're just going to pan behind. We're going to see these absolutely epic white settees. I really want to sit on one of these things.
Yeah, and I mean, it should be noted that even though there are hundreds of thousands of people watching on the air, and there it is, give it up for the OGN folks.
Give us the heart.
Even though there are hundreds of thousands of folks watching online, it's a really special occasion to know that in China and in Korea, this is actually being broadcasted on television. And you know, like, we are going to eventually get to that point where maybe you just sit at home. I know a lot of people, including myself, like, I hook that computer up to the TV. You know, it is my new age cable box, if you will. You'll watch streams all the time, but when you can watch a free HD stream and, you know, on a huge 50-inch 1080p television, that's pretty awesome.
That's the whole reason that most people, at least I have 2 monitors for, because you have one for working and one to watch streams.
One to watch streams, yeah, exactly.
And I know we're talking about streams, and we've talked about internet problems. Ladies and gentlemen, we are using 5% of all of North America's bandwidth right now for this event.
How about that?
That's a stat.
No, that's actually, yeah, that deserves a round of applause, guys. It doesn't happen very often.
That's a lot of bandwidth.
And to think that this is just the playoffs leading up to October 13th, or next week, one of these teams that's remaining, or two of these teams, excuse me, will of course be battling out for that $1 million grand prize. And I don't want to get so far ahead of myself, but I'm really excited for that. Just watching these teams compete, seeing the energy of the crowd, and knowing that that's going to, just be a grand finals to the entire season too.
So really, this game's all about the fans. We actually have a video about the fans for coming up in this matchup, and we can just go straight to that.
League of Legends fans are the best fans in the world. We honestly are just so appreciative of all the fans that show up at our live events and watch our stream.
All right, I'm Cody, and we're at the World Championships playoffs.
I'm Izzy, and same. We are at the Season 2 finals, supporting TSM.
I'm rooting for Moscow 5.
People is so excited for the game. Even though they are not maybe the fans of M5, they are maybe not the fans of this team or that team, they want to watch the game because this is the thing.
My favorite player is Special Alex Chu. He's a really talented support player, and I met him in real life, and he's a really nice guy.
Froggen, he's easily my favorite, obviously, because, well, a lot of people say I actually look like him. It's kind of funny.
They always have time to talk to their fans and take pictures and autographs.
We met all of Moscow 5. They had a little meet and greet, and that was unexpected completely. And then we met up with a Rioter, and it was just so amazing.
The pro players really feed off of the energy. They're wearing their headsets, but they can hear people cheering, and they get excited by it. They really they feed off of the enthusiasm of the crowd. They always cheer for somebody, some player or some team. It's so cool, and that adds so much to the competition. It's like a football match.
Man, they got outplayed.
Outplayed.
Well, what happened was we showed up. We had our friend from last night who came with us, so we thought he was going to get the LOL thing painted on himself, but he backed out, so we didn't have an O, and it was just L and L, so it was kind of lame. So then
just walked into the venue. They were asking for a random O. I've never seen them before. They're just randomly shouting out, "We need to know, we need to know." Decided, might as well try to have some fun. Got my spray paint, ready to go.
Fans go crazy over all the swag that we're throwing out, and we love to shoot T-shirts out of our Kog'Maw cannon, which is probably the most fun thing I get to do. And
yes, the famous Teemo hat.
Teemo, my favorite champion. He was one of the first champions I played, and he's so cute. If you don't have one, you're not cool.
They can expect us to go bigger and better. We're so passionate about esports and delivering awesome stuff to our fans. This is why we're here.
You know what, guys? As a big Kog'Maw fan, I would love one of those cannons.
You want to go on that cannon?
It'd probably be pretty dangerous in my hands, I won't lie.
It's dangerous in Dustin's hands. I saw him shoot a shirt about a foot over my head, missed all the lights, went through the computer stage. I mean, the guy caught it back there, but that was a little errant, I'd have to say.
He might have been aiming for you, Jad.
That's
I don't
true.
know. Hopefully not.
But
actually, coming off of that and seeing the fan interaction, as far as esports is concerned, to me, this is one of the really, really phenomenal things about the growth of esports, to see the interaction between the players and the fans. And, frankly, the way that the fans embrace their favorite players and their favorite teams, I mean, I think that video pretty much showed it pretty clearly, just how popular these teams are, how popular their the players are, and frankly these competitions are.
And you realize how much this is turning into sports in a lot of ways. Paint on the chest of people. The live events are absolutely crazy. And personally, even in the last 2 years, I used to be a huge sports fan, and now I mainly just follow League of Legends and esports because it's just turned into the thing that is more relevant to my interest. It's what I play. It's what I like watching, and you live and breathe it.
Yeah, you know what, and to go along with that, Jack, I've also noticed that people seem to take a new interest in a lot of the stats that come out of the game. How much gold at this time, what the majority of bans are for particular teams, that sort of thing. And from a sports fan perspective, if you're a sports fan, you probably love those stats and eat them alive.
And you really just want more of it. We have pick ban stats, which get instantly digested afterwards. There's a few more that I think are going to be grown up, like goal per minute stats are extremely entertaining for a lot of these guys. Just as we grow more and more, there's not much history, so Leaguepedia is an amazing site for this kind of stuff. If you just want to digest the history of the game, how many people have played champions, what they're good at, all the matchups, you can find a lot of this information, and it's engrossing. I really like looking at it.
Yeah, it's it's really starting to grow, and obviously the community getting involved with that as well. Riot putting out their own stuff, and the community sites is putting out their own coverage. In fact, there's a lot of folks here doing interviews of the players, a lot of coverage happening around the World Playoffs. amazing Fiddlesticks cosplay going
Yeah,
running
we've got
around over there.
Fiddlesticks running around. You guys can't see it at the moment, but he's got his big scythe. He's running around the whole back crowd there, keeping them entertained at the back there.
Keeping that crowd going. And as we are getting closer, again, I want to come back to that point of like, how is a team focusing and keeping themselves ready to go back into this game? And it's pretty still early on in game number 2, but with WE up 1 game, CLG, I think more than anything, they have got to be 150% focused at this point.
And it's got to be a test to these teams, because I've heard we are going to have to remake the game. So they have to go into game 2 with the same picks and bans, and they have to just reset their minds. They really need to pretend that the start of the previous game 2 didn't happen, because otherwise they'll be distracted, they'll be talking about it, and they won't have their mind on what they need to be focusing on, which is just taking the next game, because right now that's all that should be on their minds.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, in addition, any sort of a remake does mean that picks and bans stay in place.
Exactly the same.
And additionally, all like runes, masteries, summoner spells, etc. These are also relevant. Like
All
they
the
must
same.
stay the same. Yeah. So we should get started here in just a moment. But guys, thanks for showing up yet again. This is day 3 of the playoffs. Again, the 13th of October is going to mark one team walking away with $1 million and crowned the Season 2 World Champion. And it is going to be an amazing show. I can't wait. But today, we still have the 2 semifinal matches coming up later this afternoon. Of course, the top side of the bracket. I know a lot of people looking forward to that game. And the bottom half of the bracket is where we're going to see, of course, the winner of this game go on to face that team. But let's talk about the top side just a little bit. We've got M5 taking on Taipei Assassins. D-Man, what do you think about this matchup going into it? I watched M5 in the back. They were taking a lot of interest in the game that they're watching. And to me, that says, you know what? We're looking even past our semifinal game and who we might be facing in the finals.
Which could be a dangerous thing to do. I mean, I don't think they need to look too far past Taipei Assassins. They were incredible yesterday against Najin Sword. Everybody, even CLG EU, the team that spent a week with Taipei Assassins, had Najin Sword winning that game. Taipei Assassins definitely shocked us yesterday. I was very shocked. I think that's been the shock of the tournament so far, without being too disrespectful, if I can get my words out, to the American teams that obviously came here. Azubu Frost knocking out TSM. Yes, it was an upset. I'm not too sure it was too shocking, though. But, Moscow 5, they feel confident. They had them on your show. Alex H said, 100% we are taking $1 million.
Yeah, got a chance to interview Alexi about a month and a half ago, and he came out of their regions very, very confident. In fact, said, I can see M5 walking away with $1 million. And having that level of confidence, I think, is fantastic. But being able to back that up, one thing I said this yesterday to a guy on Twitter. I said, of all the teams of any game, if I made a list of the top 10 teams in esports that have impressed me, there's no doubt that M5 would be on that list. Their dedication to practice, to discipline, the fact that they never blame anything on another team but only on themselves, I think is one of the strongest qualities that a team can have, because really it starts from within. Obviously knowing your opponent, being able to match up against them properly, really important. But working as a team properly, making the right judgment calls, having a leader that everyone kind of looks up to and appreciates and admires the call they make, and that to me is probably the most important thing that you can have in an esports team. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Moscow 5 also carries themselves with a lot of, it's arrogance, but it's also confidence. And you do really need that. You see it across all professional sports. Being humble is nice, but if you don't actually fully believe that you are the best, you're never going to be the best. If you go into a tournament thinking that you're the second or third team and you're shooting for a 4th place finish, you're not going to win. And Moscow 5 goes into every tournament. You can see it even when they walk around. They, in their hearts, know they're the best, and it's just on them to beat other teams.
Moscow 5 to me, they often remind me a lot of some of the Southeast Asian teams that we've seen in a lot of different games. They kind of have a different approach to how they're practicing, how they look at the game, how serious they take it. And, if you've been keeping with the internet lately, you probably heard something that Alexi from M5 said yesterday, is that I feel like the North American teams, they more or less come to put on a show. But he was insinuating that we practice, dedicate, ourselves and obviously want to want to put our best foot forward. And I, based off of results, I can understand that. They go above and beyond, and I think that is very reminiscent of what we see from a lot of the Southeast Asian teams and their philosophies in practicing and in training.
Absolutely. I mean, the Korean teams, they have detailed to the level, like the first 20 minutes play of a game. They come up against the team, they are prepared for it. They know exactly that X, Y, Z will happen at this time. If it doesn't, we've got plan B, and if that doesn't happen, plan C will come into effect, and if plan D will come into effect for all these different eventualities for the first 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of a game. After that, that's when they start to fall over, and that is when Moscow 5 become incredibly strong. So it's going to be really an interesting dynamic how these teams play out, the Asian teams, the Moscow, the Russian teams. But, we've got a couple of questions from Twitter I believe we're going to try and answer, or certainly to the point. I think I'm going to make Jat probably answer them. So the first question is, so far, who do you think the MVP has been? And that in itself is a really tricky question.
There has been a lot of performance, and it's so hard to pick an MVP when you have 12 teams playing and so few matches amongst. But I have to say, MVP from a surprise perspective and who really did the best, it was Toys yesterday, because he did not die. He had 13 kills overall, completely dominated that middle lane against Song, and really, I think he was the cornerstone for how they took over. If it was a day one MVP, I would say MacNoon, because he was destroying top lane. But at least yesterday, you have a bit of a disagreement.
Yeah,
I'll get to hear yours after.
So for me, currently it's Shy.
Right.
Shy from Azubu Frost, because he's dominated that top lane. He dominated Dyrus. He dominated, I'm trying to think who it was with that Singed. He had like 2 or 3 people trying to kill him. And yeah, Kevin. And he'd be having nightmares. He'd be going back on his flight home in a week's time, and he would just be having nightmares about this Singed coming at him. And every time he's going to go into a solo rank queue, he's going to see Singed locked in. It's just going to come out in cold sweats.
And you're going to keep chasing. The MVP, certainly with the semifinal still yet to go. I don't know who the event MVP is, but I think all 3 of those names that you threw out there are certainly worthy of it. Someone just yelled Archie too. A lot of fans out there.
Archie did get that quadra kill, of course, from Saigon Jokers. He played very well. But we're going to have a couple more questions coming out here. Sorry, that was from 10-Man Anglid, by the way. I missed his name earlier on. This one's from a Mubeat, I believe it is name. How do you think the North American scene will change in the light of getting knocked out before the semi-finals? That is definitely an interesting question going into Season 3.
And this is a good one, because obviously they have to adapt. They won only a single game, and that was against SK Gaming, who eventually went 0-3. So they had a very weak performance in here. And talking to some of the teams, they're actually fairly introspective, especially Dyrus. He did a really large AMA last night on Reddit about all the things he thinks they could improve on, all the things they want to keep going on with. And so much of it is actually about just discipline, communication, and kind of getting a manager in place, because you can only manage yourself so long. You need someone to go to who can really just take it on for you. Taipei Assassins has that person. All the Koreans have that person. They're very good at just managing the team and letting everyone just focus on the game, because Reginald, for instance, not only is he the AP mid and often the strat caller for them, he also runs solo mid. So he has a lot on his mind. You can never fully focus on the game. They realize that they need that structure to allow everyone to just play the game. And that's going to be, I think, the main adjustment they make going into Season 3.
I just want to add something to that, Jad, is that I'm not quite sure that anyone knows what is the best way to improve yourself as a team, as individuals. We see the team houses popping up a lot more often. We know that some teams go into very, very heavy, active boot camps prior to coming up to events. But at this point in time, does anyone truly have the key to this is exactly how you improve your team and get better? For some teams, it all just happens differently. Maybe it is a team house. Maybe it is boot camping, but for others, it just might be finding those right practice partners or developing certain individual skills. And so, I think that a reflection on how they have practiced leading up to the regionals, then up to the finals, and just kind of reflecting on that, maybe looking at what some of the other regions are doing, and then making those adjustments accordingly. But I also don't feel that anyone should necessarily come off of this and be like, scrap everything, it didn't work, move forward. Because obviously just making it here as one of the top 12 teams means you did something right. But obviously some tweaks, maybe like you said, shifting that focus around, putting more of that direction and more of that effort into the game, can be just as important as, say, moving into a team house with another team or all your players.
And I've got a couple of things to say about that from a North American perspective. To steal something that Carmack said, teams have basically crammed preparation for this tournament. That when you get these big $2 million tournaments come along, they are like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So they've taken just like 10 days, cram, practice. Season 3 is going to change that. They're going to be playing week after week these top-level matches. So instead of just suddenly rising that level just quickly before a tournament, they're going to always be at that level, at their peak. You know, Cloud Templar had an interview with GG Chronicle talking about how things were. And he said himself, he says, you know, they don't want to mimic the Korean culture because they can't do that. Because we've grown, we've developed, we live this life. This is our culture. That's not going to work in America. They need to find their own way of doing things. Otherwise, it's going to get boring and everyone's going to do the same thing. And then that doesn't work because it will backfire because they can't mimic that sort of, you know, a lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, just to go off your point, too, we had some teams throughout the season actually not, say, go to Korea, take a spot in the OGN competition. And I think that speaks a lot. Some teams, they just rather kind of like stay a little grounded, focus on what they like to do, because that travel can take a lot out of you. And keep in mind, when you're on an airplane, you're probably not practicing. You're probably not, you know, necessarily getting ready for the next competition. It takes recovery. So those are things that teams have to consider. And as you mentioned, Season 3 could change that quite a bit, which actually would benefit all those teams, but even more so those teams that can really crack down and can really get their practice regimen going.
Well, I mean, you look at the Korean team that's doing well, Azubu Frost. They've just come off the back of a 3-month massive epic tournament.
Two in a row, really. Actually.
2 in a row, yeah. Yeah, wave your fingers at me, why don't you?
I talk with my hands.
But they have come off the back of it, and they got to the finals both times. They came second against their sister team, and then they won it. So they've always been at that level because they, week after week, they're going into Korean TV studios with OGN. They are constantly having to perform practice. Yes, they're getting a week's practice to say, okay, we're against this opponent. We are going to study them so hard.
Right.
But that's then been drilled into them. They've been doing it week after week after week. Study the opponent, figure out what they're doing. So coming into this, they're just coming off the back of, you know, something that's been tried and tested for 9 months.
Yeah. Let's be fair, like just from a preparation perspective, saying how do what got you here, don't drop everything, because we do see some different approaches to these teams and how they prepare, because COGU is still about, we even saw it in the interviews, mastering their own game, and not necessarily, if you're a great team, they say you don't have to prepare specifically for other teammates. And if you do prepare like that for other teams, sometimes you can get yourself in a bit of a hole, because if you practice too many strategies and stretch yourself too thin, then you won't really master that one strategy or even that one champion well enough. Especially Voyboy is someone who might be an example of this. He was the #1 solo queue player in Season 1, has been a superstar in the past, and when he's seen the most success in tournaments, it was IM Hanover. He pretty much relied on Lee Sin because he'd mastered that champion, he'd gotten that down. But now he does say he can play everything because he practices a pool of 20 or 30 champions. But when you come out and you've stretched yourself that thin, do you really master one thing if you play 30? You really, it depends, right? Can you do that, or do you have to focus on 4 or 5?
Well, I mean, you actually, just going back to what you said at the beginning, is that, you know, there are some teams that other teams have to play towards, right? Like they're forced to almost play to their play style because of how strong it is, versus, you know, the opposite, where you're trying to force a team to play your style. And so, you know, I mean, I think that you can always, depending on who you're going up against, we see clashes of style all the time. And, you know, especially in situations like this where now we're to a best of 3, you've got those games to be able to adjust accordingly. And I do feel like one of the strongest skills that a team or an esports player can have is to be able to dynamically adjust one's game throughout. And as you mentioned, some of those skills, mastering those pools of champions, or being able to be very diverse in what your team can run, just becomes that much more important, especially when you're dealing with a slew of different play styles. So I mean, I really think you make a great point there, Jet.
Okay, so we're going to have one more final question. That was a very good question, by the way. I like that question. Let's see what the next question is. And I do have some information about the game as well coming up shortly. We're just waiting, ladies and gentlemen. There was an internet issue, so don't worry. We're not just here talking to you for, you know, keep you entertained. There is things going on behind the scenes. But from Diesel Gaming, I think we can go with that one. Is it better to ban out a counter or ban out what you do not want to deal with? That's a good question. It's something we've been talking about quite a lot.
And this really depends on what kind of team you are, really. If you want to just, it was ban out a counter or ban out what you want to deal with. I think if you're going to go with your own strategy, it's banning out counters. Because you just don't want them to know exactly how to counter your strategy. But from game to game, like the next game, you want to ban out what you don't want to deal with. So if anything gives you trouble in the first game, for instance, an Orianna, you ban that the next game. And there is room for a mix of it because there's 3 bans per team. Overall, it definitely depends on the situation, actually.
Is that kind of like what we saw yesterday with Alexi getting Evelyn in game number 1 and then banned in game number 2 after winning that one? I mean, something like that where, obviously they brought something new to the table, but then they realized, okay, we don't want to deal with it. This is what we're going to do going into game 2. Something like that?
I think that's really what a lot of teams have adapted. In the very first game, you're banning out counters, and in the second game, you're trying to take teams off their strategy. It's so much of just changing their mindset and making them uncomfortable. Something that at least WE seemed to do to COGEU in that very first game, banning out Aurelia, banning out Alistair, banning out Anivia. Those are their comfort champs, and they got rid of them.
So, and I can give you some news, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to get underway shortly, but there is going to be new picks and bans. So it is effectively a complete restart, which actually I think is probably fairest because there were 15 minutes going into the game. They'd all shown their hands, really. That had the crazy lane swaps going on.
It's true.
So WE have chose, that was their option, because WE obviously were 2-0 up, so the option was given to them.
Okay.
And they've said, yep, we are happy with that. We want to go with a completely new game.
So they have something in the cards then, because even though it had
Another
worked out for them
strategy.
early, they have another one that they potentially think would work even better. Or they think that triple jungle invade was what was a key to one of their compositions, and they know that wouldn't work again. So I'm glad they actually had the choice to do that, because here we'll get to see something new as well.
And, I mean, as it relates back to what we were talking about as well, that's probably a good thing. It will allow them to sort of reset their focus and not be so, lingering in that, in midst of that game too, that now is just kind of in the past. And I think that'll probably benefit both teams here. I don't think it gives either one a distinct advantage, and that's probably the most important thing going into game number 2.
Absolutely. So if you are joining us, ladies and gentlemen, then WE already 1-0 up against CLG EU. I know a lot of you guys will be staying up late, especially in Europe. Apologies for these delays. I know what it's like to sit at home in Europe and try and watch these tournaments, and I guess the Americans are the same when you try and watch these Korean tournaments abroad.
Yeah, got to stay awake and make sure you're powering through it. But this is obviously a good time for everyone as it relates to the broadcasts around the globe. And really excited here as we're going to go into the final quarterfinal match and then into the 2 semifinals.
I gotta say, all the people here are absolute troopers. You can see the excitement and energy, even though we've been sitting around for a while here. Everyone's still into it from the very start of the day, waiting in line. People were cheering at the smallest thing. They are ready to go in every aspect here.
They cheered at Riot team meeting.
They did. There were about 20 people talking about what technical issues we wanted to deal with today. All right, how are we going to deal with the crowds? All right, break. And everyone's like, yeah, go Riot. It was interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of Riot stuff here. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are here, you can see all the people around you with Riot shirts on. They're the guys that have made this happen. So feel free, if you do see them, thank them for being so awesome at what they do. And why not give them a good cheer as well? What's the good cheer? Also, just blown away by the amazing cosplay of all the League of Legends champs that I've seen around here. And we continue, out of the corner of my eye, I just see Fiddlesticks just tossing out oranges. But I saw Ezreal, I saw the Arcade Sona today. I just really seen some phenomenal costumes. And I have to admit, I've been to a couple League of Legends events in the past couple months, and I too constantly see some amazing dedication to these costumes from event to event.
Some of the cosplays, especially at the PAX East and PAX Prime, you really realize how big the game is, because so much of the cosplay is League of Legends focused, and those costumes take forever. I know the Sejuani one I saw was a 2-person costume, one guy in just a giant war suit, and that was probably one of the best I've seen. And honestly, this Fiddlesticks, he's really good at walking on stilts, because he's just hopping around this entire event. Yeah, look at him. He's happy with that. And it's like he's thrown out a pick and mix. I mean, the Gangplank Oranges and the Flash Bananas.
Yeah.
You're just getting an assortment of fruit coming out. What are you guys going to come up with next? You need to add something to that bowl.
We need some more fruit in the game somehow. Maybe a fruit-based champion at some point.
I feel like maybe it would be Ziggs and maybe a pineapple. Like that might might be
water balloons. He's got the water balloons already.
Right?
Yeah, throwing out water balloons may not be the best idea, but it could be fun at a hot event like this.
that actually, I don't know if that would be very good. Imagine the wet just hitting the back of our heads.
And there you go. We're talking about spray painted people. That guy's got a Zubu Frost on his front. I think it's WE on his back. I think I just saw him turn around. So, these guys just, they're adapting it like a true sport. I mean, it's something that I would say is not big in the UK. Normally because we like our football, and all you're going to get is big pie-eating, beer-swilling bellies on show. Not so much the chests that you'd really want to see in a sport, but, it's definitely an American thing, that's for sure.
You know what else is cool, guys? Is being in this open venue. You know, obviously everyone here is a league fan, but you've got to imagine that people passing by, there's a lot of people around here. And I guarantee you that there's some people who are like, wow, what's going on here? Let me check that out, getting some more interest. And it's just cool to know that this open air venue is likely exposing even more people to esports and I don't know, we might get a fiddlestick shot here in just a second as he's bouncing around behind us. But that aspect of it, the exposure to more people, even beyond who it's streaming to, and the television stations it's going out to, is really, really incredible. There he is.
There he is.
Happy that he's on camera.
To go on with that, I've talked to actually a lot of people at events who have said, I asked them how do they get into League of Legends, and they say, well, I saw it at MLG, or I saw it at IPL, or I saw it in DreamHack, and on top of that is just, my friend was into it, and it's free. So if you have friends out there and you haven't got them, give them a link to the stream. Be like, hey, check out this game. You want to play? By the way, you don't have to buy it. You can just download it, install it, and play right away.
Yeah, and they should. Why
it's
not?
hard to argue against
Best
that, really,
price, right?
I mean, I could talk about Mini Wheat here. I think it's safe to say he plays it.
Oh yeah. Although, he has interesting approach. He has certain champs that he really likes, and the thing is that he doesn't quite understand the urgency yet, D-Man. So you'll see him go out, the minions start spawning, all of a sudden you'll see him like dancing in base for 5 minutes. It's like, okay, we need to work on that a little bit, but it's what you'd expect out of a 6 or 7 year old. So. We'll get him
sometimes I feel like they're on my team.
It might have been him, but I won't. No, we don't let him play right, so don't worry. Not yet, anyway. Not yet.
Maybe you not, but I feel some of my teammates often when I play that they are, they're still dancing in base or something. I'm just like, what are you guys doing? This is serious business, serious internet gaming business. But we've had obviously a bit of a delay here. No doubt about it. The teams can reset their minds now. So. What sort of strategies would you sort of change coming into this one? I mean, first of all, that kind of almost worked for CLG. I felt they were coming back into that one. First game, obviously, they need to just reset. That didn't work. What do they do? Because we always say CLG plays standard.
From a picks and bans perspective, some might change, but I think it's generally going to stay. They're going to keep the Orianna ban. A Nivea and TF, I'm expecting 100% in this series, and that only leaves a couple open. WE with that triple invade, I don't know if they're going to go with the Olaf again because he's very much about getting the early blue buff, and now that they've seen that twice, CLG might do something to counteract that. Really early on, I don't have the pulse on WE strategies because they've qualified so long ago and they haven't had to show anything since then, whereas CLG EU has been playing in many high-stakes events and they've always generally played standard. So it's really an edge to WE almost the more they play here because they seem to have the diverse strategies where COG EU does not.
And when it comes down to that reset, like you said, it seems like there's a couple different roads that a team can take. Do they go with something similar as to what they were doing the last game and sort of surprise their opponent? Do they have something new in store? Maybe is a great time to do it. And so this new mental game kind of gets introduced, and you have to be really careful not to let it psych yourself out. If you know what I mean, you have to just be confident in what your team is going to do and not think so much about what the other team might change now that there has been a reset.
Yeah, and even actually in the group stage going back, the teams that decided that they had something new in this tournament, especially Dignitas, the whole pre-tournament talk for them was, we're going to change the game. We're going to do something crazy. And that was the roaming Tarek following around the jungler. That really didn't work that well at all. So you do have to be careful when you pull out these new strategies or try to surprise someone. Even though you have the advantage on the enemy team, you have to execute it. It has to be well practiced. COG NA has pretty good practice with that triple teleport strategy, but that hasn't always been the case. They've lost a lot of games trying to do those things. So at least Team WE, as we come up into this game too, they will have to be careful if they mix it up, that they pick something they have a lot of practice on.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that, D-Man?
Well, I mean, Jan is definitely the expert on this one. He is way ahead of me in that sense. But, I mean, COG EU, they've been up against it, and they've come back from probably harder situations, obviously, with the DreamHack game. You yourself were there, obviously, at DreamHack. You'd have seen the crowds, how crazy it gets there. And they were really, you know, the craziness. We're suddenly getting, there's something fell behind your desk, Jan. I think you're about to actually get zerged in a minute.
I'm going to get mobbed. I got a shirt.
It's definitely, it's definitely getting a little, it's definitely getting a little rowdy in here. Apparently,
they've just swarmed
I'm
the shirt.
That's all I'm doing.
Excellent throw. I think someone right next wanted that one, but
I'm sorry, guys.
Misfire from the cannon.
Misfire from the cannon. See, again, I think, are they aiming them cannons at us? You got to question that.
Maybe slightly.
They're going for you again, Jet. Strike two.
No, we actually, on the topic of just switching up strategies and trying to bring new things into tournaments, at least from the other games you've been a part of, do they have the same type of standard play, or how often do you see someone come into a tournament with something completely new and blow people away?
You know, to be fair, it's really up a lot of times to the player and the strategies that they are able to actually, you know, execute. Now, in this case, you know, we're talking about like traditional across all esports. As a team, that changes quite a bit because you've got a lot of versatility, a lot of different things you can do. But to me, this is where the more synergy your team has, the more diverse that they can actually be. You know, we have those teams that they can just dig into that bag of tricks and they can pull out so many different things. This is a really great opportunity to kind of like throw something out there for a surprise. However, you always got to reel it back because as a spectator, you're like, yeah, that would be awesome if we just saw this and this. It'd be the most exciting thing. Because don't forget that this is for a spot in the semifinals, and winning this game earns you an additional $75,000. And suddenly, it's easy for us to make those decisions, but when you're those players sitting up there and you're thinking about the money, and you're thinking about, you know, the implications of being in the semifinals, that becomes a much more difficult decision. So a lot of times I tell fans, you kind of have to temper those thoughts a little bit because as much as we would love to see that crazy thing come out right now, it might be the perfect time to do it. You still have to remember there's so much on the line, and to make a sacrifice that big, even though, say for example, WE is up a game, that's still a lot of risk to put out there, a lot of risk.
I like to see that it's kind of like that almost across all the esports then, that they do, when the things are on the line, they do seem to default back to what's most comfortable for them.
Yeah. I mean, on the flip side, Jet, we have seen some crazy stuff result from these exact types of situations. So I would never count anything out, but at the same token, I'm probably guessing that there's a 99% chance we're going to see completely standard out of both of these guys and nothing like that's going to really blow our minds. And if it does, great. Then we're in for a treat.
Well, speaking of mind-blowing, ladies and gentlemen, the picks and bans have started at last. Finally, we are going to get into the game. And, well, immediately bans coming out. DJ Wheat, thank you very much for joining us on some intense filler.
Thanks for having me, guys. Glad the game's about to get started.
Let the game begin. So, immediately, Jat, the picks and bans have begun, and they are here on your screen. Anivia, Alistair, and Aurelia. No shock there. Same bans as before. Twisted Fate, Oriana, and Blitzcrank banned out this time. Was first pick for Team WE.
There's the main adaptation that was made here. The Shen ban was there in the previous matchup. They've switched it up, and now actually a lot of differences coming out. That Blitzcrank was first picked by WE. COGU had the Ezreal, so this is really going to be a completely unique game.
Absolutely unique. So Ezreal again continuing that 100%, picked and banned throughout. Skarner could be the jungler. Sona has been locked in. Sona 100% record so far. Definitely a pick I feel COG could do well with.
And that's just the standard play here by COGEU. They do know that Sona is somewhat of a generic support, good in almost every scenario. And the main thing that stops Sona actually is Blitzcrank, which they've banned out.
Which they've banned out indeed. What will Team WE pick? They've got 40 seconds. Of course, they had a 10-minute break. After we knew it was going to restart, Team WE requested a 10-minute break. They wanted to discuss the strategy, which is fine. You know, they were the ones that chose, yeah, okay, we can reset things, but we want time to talk about it. Looking like they're going to have to react to the Skarner pick with a Maokai. Interesting that Maokai was available, that Snoopy chose to go for Skarner to begin with. Skarner's been very strong in this tournament so far.
And here we could maybe see a Nocturne. We really have to make sure WE doesn't get too upset about this change, because even though COGEU was coming back in that last game before we had the disconnect, before we had the problems, they were winning. And if you get that in your mind, you can't have it as a negative thing, which it most likely is. You have to realize, hey, we were winning, let's just go do it again, instead of saying, man, we were winning, we should have already moved on. You've got to get that out of your mind.
And we're seeing the 4-man dive comp here from Team WE. The Shen ultimate down the bottom, Nocturne from downtown, sliding straight in there, which is quite relevant since we are in LA downtown. I'm not just pulling that one out for good, but CLG, they're going to have seen that. They know what's coming now. They're going to know what to expect in that bottom lane. They know they've got a Sona. They need to react to it. Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever seen Wicked playing Jace, you know, in that top lane, but Jace has been very strong in this tournament.
He did play one game of Jace against Azubu Frost in that best of 5 they had, but it wasn't the best performance. He's generally struggled with skill shot heavy champions, and that acceleration gate shock blast combo is very skill shot intensive. And COGU has seen a type of team comp like this where they have 4 or 5 men able to appear in the bottom lane. That was against Moscow 5 at ECC Poland, and they actually got obliterated by it. They locked in the Nocturne Shen very early, so COGU has had plenty of time to counteract that with their picks and bans. Whether or not they pull that off, they really have to, because this is a dangerous composition for them to handle.
So final pick being selected, Froggen. What AP mid will it be? Will it be Karthus again? Will he go for something different? Went for Cassiopeia in the last match, which obviously got restarted. If you have just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, there was a small internet issue around about 15 minutes into the game. It does happen at these live events. And the fact that we are using 5% of the entire North American internet is not much of a surprise. We are draining the electric of the whole world right now, as people all around the world, Europeans staying up through the night, Koreans and Chinese just waking up early to try and watch this one, the North Americans basking in the sunshine of Los Angeles, waiting for this final pick to come through. He's leaving it late. It's going to be Karthus.
He had trouble with Karthus against Orianna in the first game, but that is Froggen's comfortable mid, second probably to Anivia. So really CLG trying to stay comfortable, trying to be good here. This counter pick back and forth, they burned 2 bans on Messiah. They really respect him as a player, obviously. Will Karthus be able to go up against Vladimir? Vladimir's going to be able to be pretty aggressive against him early. Can't wait for this game to finally get underway.
Yeah, hopefully it will get underway. And ladies and gentlemen, looks like you all are sat back down. As soon as those picks and bans guys come out, everybody's like rush back to your seat. So finally, things are going to get underway. If you want to see Counter Logic Gaming Europe taking this game, taking it to game 3, it's going to be a hell of a long series if they do. Give them a cheer.
If you want to see World Elite come back from that disconnect, I suppose, and get the second game moving on to the semifinals, let's hear it for World Elite. Well, overpowered by the COG chance.
To see who the favorite is here. They want a game 3. Ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic crowd you've been. Thank you very much for the patience. Thank you very much at home for the patience of having to sit through that one. We know it's not easy to sit and listen to the 3 of us for a long period of time. I feel like I was on Live on 3 there for a moment. I got DJ Wheat here. I don't know which one am I. Am I going to be the dollars? Am I Sir Scoots right here?
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
That makes you Slasher, unfortunately. Sorry.
Oh. Oh no! Sorry, Slasher's a great guy.
Oh, he's a great guy. He's watching this one as well. I know he is. But we are into the game, ladies and gentlemen. You can see it there on your screen. Let's get things underway. So if you've just joined us, it has been a very long break between, but CLG EU are starting off as the red team, and Team WE, aka World Elite, we call them WE, that's what we've been requested to call them. They are playing as the blue team. Team WE, of course, 1-0 up as that red side to begin with, and looks like, are we going to see anything crazy coming out? Wicked, of course, on Jout, on Jace. He's going to be on you, Jat. He's going to be all over you, man, like a rash. He's going to be against Chow Mei in that top lane. So Shen versus Jace is something we saw at the EU Regionals. It did not go very well.
So the Shen is chopping the matchup, and here Wicked's actually running straight into Clearlove, trying to get that push. This is interesting.
He's trying to bait that one. He wanted to go for that aggression. You can see the laneways coming down. Clearlove's hit points being taken down. Jace managed to kill him. Messiah going straight in there. The pull, trying to slow things down. They've hooked up towards Snoopy. The taunt comes out. Can Snoopy get away? They got the ignite down on Snoopy, I believe. I think his hit points might drop. He's got the heal going. Crepo's going to get dropped. Wee Zhao picks up first blood. Froggen's going to get exhausted. They're going to try and turn things around. Wee Zhao's going to be the target. Wee Zhao's on nothing. They flash. They get him. Froggen got the laneways down. Yellow P's also taken out very low as well. That's going to be Yellow P near drop. Clearlove. Wicked turns around. Wicked goes back in. Chow Mei's got to try surely get a taunt across. And it was a 2-1 death-defying exchange for both teams. Everybody going back home. That's the start we wanted.
Wow, and that was the first giant clash we've actually seen pretty much in this tournament. Let's take a gander at what got just eaten up in that fight. I'm lost for words. Lots of flashes. The bottom lane of CLG EU is completely extended. No flash, no exhaust, no cleanses, any of that. Wicked used everything. The only flash remaining on CLG EU is Frog, and he didn't use any summoner spells. Across the board on WE, Chow Mei still has his flash, Messiah still has ignite, so pretty much there's still a flash on FCZF as well. Even summoner spell usage on both sides. I do have to give the quick advantage there to WE. They got the 2 kills as well as having more flashes up. So interesting level 1, crazy, crazy, crazy engagement. WE really slightly at the start of the game.
Yeah, with that slight lead. But you know, the assists actually spread across pretty evenly. The only person that didn't get anything there was Skarner. So Snoopy struggling out there. So the lane phase is beginning. The jungle invade never happened, which is actually better off for Snoopy to start with because he had so many problems in the first game. His jungle was invaded. He was in all sorts of trouble. So let's take us through this lane phase. Oh, down the bottom I can see actually a dazzle there on Crepo. And look at how aggressive Wee Zhao immediately goes off the back of that one. Arcane shift into Mystic shot straight away, ripping the points down of Crepo. Crepo, of course, he's going to be happy to take that. He's the man that's taking the damage. But let's go through the top lane. Jace versus Shen to begin with. We are seeing Snoopy making his way into that top lane. Let's just keep with the action a moment because he looks like he's going to try and hook onto Chow Mei. Of course, no ultimate available. We can definitely get the damage down. Has got exhaust. No, exhaust is not available because Wicked used it at the very start by the looks of it. So nothing's going to happen as far as I can tell. Snoopy is going to sit around though, so they want to bait Shen closer. But he's surely just going to be a dash away from that one. They are going to go aggression. There's the dash already used them. Are they going to get enough damage? They just want to force Chow Mei back, if anything. Force him to use something. Wicked is going to get knocked back. Use the knockback and just force him back. But he's not going to back off that one.
And he might just try to camp that. We've seen some really legendary camps by some of these junglers just staying in the brush for a really long period of time. That gank a little bit unsuccessful. They did not burn any of Chow Mei's summoner spells, so Wicked trying to get a lot of help up in that lane. His Jace does need to snowball the lane. We've seen the Jace versus Shen matchup. Jace generally very strong early on, and really the one I want to pay a lot of attention to is Messiah against Froggen in here, because the last time his Froggen was slowed down by Messiah's Orianna, what's he going to do against Vladimir? Vladimir's so versatile, sometimes going top or mid. The mid Vladimir much more about aggression since his pool can take him so close to his tower. He's able to push up and harass without much recourse. Now we see a gank coming up by Clearlove top lane. Will they be able to turn it around on Wicked?
Clearlove going in. He has got double buff available. Wicked on full health though. Full health and full mana. He's actually going to walk straight round into him. Does manage to get through the accelerator gate. Which creates... Oh, the fear turns him against him. Oh, but the dash, the taunt misses. Wicked might be able to get out of this one. No, the ignite tick should go down. Chow Mei picks it up. That's 3-1 and a successful gank in the top lane.
And that just hurts so bad because his flash was burned at level 1 and it made him not escape. Chow Mei saving it, getting the flash in to create that kill. They knew the summoner spell cooldowns and they took advantage of it before it would be back. When Nocturne gets his first successful gank, that is so dangerous, especially for the bottom lane, because his gank's bottom, once that paranoia darkness comes up, is so scary.
So Froggen back in that mid lane against Messiah. And we've seen a Vlad mid last time. He's definitely always going to try and interrupt Froggen. He's not going to let him sit and farm. Is that just Froggen baiting him though with the lay waste? I think he may well have been. And Messiah, we saw Vlad mid, and they struggled early on. I'm trying to think who it was against. I'm sure someone with the stats would be able to tell me, but it was definitely a struggle for Vlad mid.
I can't
it
remember.
must have been
It's
against,
Messiah
especially
already
against Karthus.
is down in minion kills. I think Vladimir should be able to get aggressive on him, however, especially Messiah. I don't see that being a bad matchup. He can pool under and even dodge the Karthus ultimate in the right situation. I think he can. I should actually know that. I'm sorry, guys. We'll see it the first time it happens. Snoopy trying to clear his jungle up here now.
Well, we said
No disaster for Snoopy early, though, is the great thing. Last game, he was very far behind early on. This game, he is sticking to it, even though he hasn't pulled off a successful gank yet.
Clear Love in the bottom lane, snuck his way into that bottom bushes, waiting to get that gank. We did say, the fact that we knew it was going to be a kill lane. When you pick a Nocturne, you are going to go for kills. So far, Clear Love, it's worked out for him. He's not got his ultimate available just yet. He's some way off. In fact, he's a full level experience off that one. But I don't think Yellow Pete and Crepo are going to be nervous. They're not going to push out for this one. But Wei Zhao, already with the kills early on, 1-0 at the moment, went for the cloth actually early on. So instead chose to go with that. There we go. Clear Love's going to go in, and Yellow Pete, well aware of that one, just backs out. Very successful in avoiding the damage. 6.5 minutes gone into this game. 3-1 already to Team WE. Snoopy returns to lane, covering off Froggen. Froggen now has hit level 6, so ultimate will be available should they require it. Of course, don't forget the Shen at the top has also just hit level 6, so we could see those crazy 4-man dives. Wicked's going to go aggressive on Xiaomei here. He's going to force him back. You know he's going to go back to that tower. Has he got the damage to finish him off, though? Forcing Xiaomei just to back away, but he didn't burn anything. Xiaomei actually doesn't have flash, doesn't have ignite available just yet.
Something Wicked really needs to do in this lane is keep Shen low and keep him harassed. Also stay close to him. If he keeps his E knockback for when Shen tries to ult, he'll prevent him from coming into these fights. So he needs to keep the pressure up. It's difficult when you get first blooded there, but even with that, he's up 9 minions on him, harassing him out of that lane. You can see Xiaomei, very defensive, smart build here. Ninja Tabby and a double Doran shield. And here, potentially, we could see something bottom. Snoopy gets caught out with a ward.
That FZZF literally walked into that tri-bush. He face-checked it first. If it had been a split-second difference, he would have gone straight into it with Snoopy and Crepo right there, ready and waiting. Of course, Snoopy still not to hit 6, has had Nocturne, so neither could have used their ultimate to get in there. As it is, keep my eye. Where is Vlad going? Vlad's just going to ward out that river. So Snoopy, they are 3-man stacking on this bottom lane. This is an unusual move from CLG. So Snoopy's hanging around here. Is he waiting to get 6 and try and draw something out, or is he basically baiting them to maybe make an attack here?
That was a curious choice. I think he was just trying to get to level 6 as fast as possible. He knew his side of the jungle was already down, so he was just trying to leech as much experience as possible. He needs to be level 6 because clear level is level 6, and the Shen plus Nocturne ultimates can come in at any moment. Snoopy has to be very guarded near lanes, and in order to actually be there to defend his team, he needs that Impale, and he has to get there soon. So much of his farm is deferred to Froggen. Froggen's taking the race. He'll get this level 6 here. We need to be very careful until Snoopy gets near one of their members.
So Clear Love picking up the red buff of his own. Oh, Wicked taken very low in that top lane. The Ignite was available for Xiaomei. I feel he could have pushed the pressure there. But now, that means Snoopy is going to pick up the red of his own. Froggen comes around, gets that lane tax, does pick up his own race. That's something we saw Messiah was really dealing with in game 1 and 2. Not to confuse things, I guess I could call it 2.1 or something, I'm not too sure.
So Clear Love is actually going to take more farm than other junglers. Nocturne is very much about getting farmed. He can't defer nearly as much as something like a Skarner can. This gank is potentially coming in from bottom because they know Snoopy's up top, so they know there cannot be a counter gank. They get any kind of Taric stun, they're going to be going in hard, but he's sitting on a ward, Taric is.
Yeah, that top lane, Shen Jace has returned to lane this time, so Wicked choosing an unusual approach there, I think it's safe to say. Berserker Greaves and Vampiric Scepter.
Which is really odd on Jace because Jace's W gives him 3 hits at max attack speed, so generally no one builds attack speed on Jace. He's very much looking for sustained and harass, but honestly, I don't know what he's going to do against Xiaomei's Shen build because that is so solid. With the double Doran shield, all the armor that gives him combined with the Ninja Tabby and being a resourceless champion, I don't think Wicked has the mana to out-harass Xiaomei. I really think Wicked's in a lot of trouble here.
He's just going to try and farm it out, which you would expect is his standard approach. Meanwhile, down that bottom here, the Taric Dazzle going on towards Yellow Pete. Not a great deal to do from it. Corki, of course, very versatile. Messiah getting caught out by the wall of pain there. Froggen going aggressive. Messiah trying to lifesteal his way through it, but the more damage coming out from Froggen had got Snoopy waiting in the wings if he was required. But again, this top lane fight, as you talked about it, Wicked there, just trying to exchange with Xiaomei, coming out worse off from it by the seams of it. Snoopy now with that Oracle is going to clear out, spot that one just above Messiah. Messiah's going to try and put the damage. Nocturne ultimate going on towards Messiah on Snoopy. Snoopy just flashes away. So Splash Burn and the Vlad ultimate was used up there. They really wanted to get that Nocturne, that Oracle down.
But keep track here. They did manage to burn his flash, and Snoopy is still very squishy. The Nocturne ultimate will be up before Snoopy's flash. So the next time he tries to clear a ward with an Oracle and the Nocturne ult is up, that Nocturne ult will kill. There's a lot of aggression going down bottom. Actually, get the Soda ult.
FCZF is in trouble. They're not going to have the damage. Snoopy is close. Oh, they got the damage, surely. No, he just popped a heal and said, thank you very much. Chow Mei also ignited down the bottom lane. It's not going to be enough. Wicked. That often happens when Transcends from the Karthus ultimate coming out. Multiple lanes will try different things. They'll try and push their advantage. Snoopy trying to get a peek in there, of course. Nothing coming from it though, and CLG look like they're going to try and force the Dragon off the back of this one. They know that Team WE have all had to back off.
Good play by CLG EU. Wicked interrupting the Shen ultimate, but the Shen ultimate saving from the damage. This is going to pull them back into it despite the 3-1 disadvantage early. They farmed in lanes, they've stayed even, and now they're pulling up in the gold. This is CLG EU trying to get back in the game.
CLG EU grinding it back out. They seem to have dealt with those problems very well. In terms of CS, they are up in the top. They are, I'd say, up in the mid, but it's only 3 difference, but they are down again. Wei Xiao really proving to be a problem for Yellow Peak in that bottom lane. 114 CS to 81. Big difference already.
And that's a lot of the Taric being fearful to Crepo Sona. Sona's very vulnerable if people can get right on top of them, and they've been staying far enough out of harassment range before they want to hard engage, and it's done very well for them to just keep them slightly zoned. Corki's Valkyrie has a very long cooldown, so if he Valks away from one stun, he has to play super passive until his Valk's up again, and I think that's the play pattern they've been creating in the bottom lane to allow Wei Xiao that minion move.
Messiah farming up. Something interesting with the builds. Immediately we're seeing a Haunting Guise coming out from Vladimir. This is something we saw in Poland quite a bit.
It's just a stacking Magic Pen build. He's going to be going Sork Shoes, potentially an Abyssal Scepter later, and your damage gets closer and closer to true damage if you can take someone to 0 magic resist. You look at Frog and he's only got 30 MR, so with that Haunting Guise, he's already dealing true damage.
Oh! Yellow Pete, the Ezreal ultimate is not going to catch him, just about flicks past. Thought about going for it. Backed away, tried to take it. Froggen picking up the blue buff there, but Yellow Pete already taken low. Is he going to be able to sustain and stay in that lane? He has got Sona, of course, with him. And now Snoopy is just coming up to protect it. Again, I don't think they're going to go for anything here. Snoopy, at the moment, Scano has not been able to pick anything up, whereas Nocturne also getting involved, has picked up a kill, or an assist, I should say.
And Snoopy has really just been trying to dissuade World Elite from doing anything here, going into the lane and showing yourself. You're not trying to set up a counter gank at that point. You're just trying to make them not want to do anything. It gives up a lot of position, but it goes to what CLG is trying to do right now, which is very clearly stalled. Oh, there's a gank up top.
It's up, and it's going to be Wicked. Wicked surely going to go down from the back of this one. Xiao Mei will pick it up. No, Clearlove stole it away. The jungler picking up the kill. That's fine. They're going to pass it out, and honestly, that was such a clean executed move, and Wicked had no chance.
Didn't even get to burn his flash. He was taunted into the Nocturne Fear, and they actually see Snoopy with that Oracles, but there's no Nocturne ult left, and he's just going to have to concede his jungle here to Nocturne with a 2-level advantage.
2-level advantage, and Clearlove just picks it up, walks away. Snoopy knew that the Golem was going to get left, so he goes back in and clears it out. Froggen's going to pick up the race, and he's going to walk straight into Clearlove actually, but he does manage to put it down. He is on the red buff. Is Snoopy aware of this one? Froggen will have spotted him there. Wall of Pain goes across. Has he got enough to try and take on Clearlove? I think he just wants to force him away, if anything, and make sure and just defend that red buff. He's going to be well aware of it. Of course, Vladimir had gone to pick up the Wolves, so he was not anywhere in the vicinity to try and help out on that one.
And if you really look here, Messiah keeping up with Froggen and then some, 148 to 147, just doing work on Vladimir. One of the few people who can actually keep up with Froggen's farming ability, just really trying to counteract CLG's playstyle as much as they can. They did it last game by being almost more passive, more tanky, and beating them at their own game. And even again here, while they do have the early aggression with the Nocturne ganks, at least in mid lane, Messiah not roaming, doing very well to make sure he does not allow Froggen to pull ahead of him.
As it stands, 15 minutes gone. It is 4-1 in terms of kills. No one really getting close to affecting the turrets either. Very much playing into the hands of CLG EU for the long game. And honestly, I feel that Team WE, with this 4-man dive strat they've got, they need to try and make it count as much and hard as they can in the lane phase.
So now that Nocturne ult is close to cooldown. The Shen ult is back. That 4-man dive becomes again available. And there's a
Snoopy's
4-man
going
dive
for
for
the mid lane.
COGU. Might happen right here.
Yeah, they're going to go in towards Messiah. They do hook him up before he gets the pull. He will pull out the back of this one, gets crescendo. Still get there, and really great work from Clearlove to completely defend against that one. Messiah was kept pretty much paralyzed for a long period of time there, but he just got in front of it and managed to stop the damage coming out from Yellow Pete. Wicked, meanwhile, trying to burn down this top turret.
They did have to burn the Shen ult, but Clearlove's Nocturne ultimate is still available. Snoopy has his flashback. The Oracle hasn't got. Wicked got the tower. Good push. And now Chow Mei and Nocturne looking up, and they have a deep ward. They saw him coming in.
So, aggressive stuff now coming out. Is it going to be a bloodthirster straight away on Jace here? He has got that BF sword to go with those boots he picked up earlier. Meanwhile, Skarner's just going to build as tanky as possible. Skarner's going to be that frontline damage that goes in, and effectively they're going to play it like a double AD strat. And you can see that is why Wicked's now starting to actually put pressure on Chow Mei there with just the basic attacks.
Those are the Berserker's Greaves coming into happiness right there. He has the red buff as well, which is just allowing him to train him down more and more. Getting him pushed back a bit, despite Wicked having 2 deaths. He's taken the tower. He has 125 minions to Shen's 111. He is holding his own up there. Both the mid lane and the top lane are actually very, very even. Even the 4 kills that WE has taken are counteracted by that tower and Dragon Gold, so a good stall so far by COG EU.
Good stall so far, and that's what they want to do. Messiah not. I mean, he's causing problems for Froggen, but he's not slowing the farming. They're both keeping, even though Snoopy again going to get caught out. Flash will be available, and the exact same situation. Snoopy has to flash away. The Ezreal ultimate was going up there, the river. Does manage to catch across them, but again, flash burn for Snoopy. It means he's not going to be able to be too aggressive until line is back available.
And really, the exact same moment as you said. Now goes back, gets that ward. Nocturnal still on a long cooldown. Once again, they really want to get that Oracles down, and Snoopy's done a good job staying alive and playing safe when his flash was down.
Dragon,
they're
good
clearing
timing.
the ward here at Dragon. They have the timer on it. It's immediately up. But WE knows they do not have Nocturne or Shen ultimates here. Even the Ezreal ultimate is down. COG has all of theirs as well. So if there is a fight here, this would be one for COG EU to take.
Yeah, they want to force it. Wicked is there, of course. There's the acceleration gate. Can they try and catch someone out? Or can they just turn this into a straight, flat push on the turret, which COG seem to be doing? It's going to force Team WE to come up river, straight past that ward coverage. So that's going to be a wave pushed in towards
W's
the
trying
turret.
the Dragon.
COG going to come around though. There is the Dragon. The Dragons are already down to half health, and they forced it to reset. COG aggression coming in. Snoopy's going to clear out that ward he's sat on top of. And remember, there is no flash for Snoopy, but that acceleration gate will give him that extra speed to be able to get in and hook someone.
WE is trying to hold this one off right now. They're waiting for their ultimate cooldowns to come back. Ezreal's is back. Chow Mei's is almost close. They are pressuring mid, but right now WE is just trying to buy another 20 or so seconds. They're going bottom lane for a tower push. They're going to get that. They're going to concede. Then this is going to be a tower trade.
It is going to be a tower trade. The question is, will they continue trading? It's not really the tower trade that CLG were looking for. They were quite happy to take that mid one, but didn't really want to lose that bottom one. Weijia was there. And again, CLG getting in position. They're going to pick up the blue before they go Dragon this time around. They've got to be careful. So Froggen's going to come around. He's going to get the blue before this fight begins. Again, ward clearance begins. Very, very much cat and mouse this one. There's Weijia with the ultimate going across, and Weijia's going to back away. He's got to be careful. There's a ward right there. Hasn't going to spotted him in the bush. They won't know he's gone back. They're going to show him. And Shen going up to the top as well. COG going to be giving this Dragon.
But WE is going to take that top tower. Chow Mei has went all the way up. They pushed the bottom lane with the Ezreal ulti because they're just trying to deny COG as many minions and as gold as possible while still giving them the Dragon. Another Dragon for COG EU. This is really the stall that they actually need. So WE's decision to just kind of split push and trade really just extends the game here, and that's good work by COG EU getting the second Dragon for them.
And that's going to be the second turret for WE. Actually, Jace now up that top lane. If we can look at the top lane, please. You can see that Wicked is going to come in there. Not quick enough though. Chow Mei will take the turret down. And blue buff being given to Weijia.
That is an interesting choice actually, but I say interesting too much, I think, D-Man. But we have Shen.
Oh,
and
a
Vladimir's
flash.
a solo lane, so there he comes in, right for Wicked.
And we just saw Froggen flash out there. Wicked's had to use his flash as well. Froggen flashing away from the potential dazzle. He was so cautious. That means his flash is going to be down. Not too big a deal on Karth, especially now we're moving into a more of a mid-game phase. 20 minutes gone into this match. Still just 600 gold between the two teams. Very much aggressive stuff here from Team WE. They're going to try and push this top lane. There's the Ezreal ultimate clearing out the bot lane, which you can see Corki is on Yellow Peak trying to push that bottom turret. There goes the ultimate, actually catching the entire creep wave, stopping him out. Messiah going to come around, the Ghost coming out, they're going to dive in. Crescendo though, back towards the tower, the course, the Alpha's ultimate is not going to be enough. Oracle's going to get burned there, Snoopy goes down, Crepo goes down. Team WE cleaning house here for CLG, and Wicked just trying desperately to defend it. Oh my word, FCZF nearly got caught out by the backside of Wicked there, and they're going to come around. Froggen is there, the wall of pain should come around, he's going to be careful, he doesn't get caught out too heavily though. He's going to surely get dropped eventually. There's the Shen ultimate on to clear love. He will get taken down, he's going to try and put a couple of layways down, he can't catch hold of Messiah. Yellow Pete in the meantime is just getting a free farm in the bottom, but that was 3 kills given to Team WE.
It really isn't that much of a disaster, though, because look at the gold toll after this. It's still only a 1,000 gold lead. They didn't get the tower despite getting those 3 to 4 kills on the dive, and CLG EU did. Also, Yellow Pete is going to be able to steal this red buff away, so when all is said and done, that absolute aggression by WE didn't actually gain them all that much. To get back very early, Weezao getting the blue buff there. Oh no, he might have missed the red buff here. He's got it, but now he's in trouble.
But the Dazzle came out already. FCZF used the Dazzle to try and get the kill, and Yellow Pete is safe. 7-1 in kills, 3-2 though in turrets to CLG. 22 minutes gone into this game, very much a lively one, and I think there's a lot of time to be going in this game yet. Crepo, the poke comes out, and that Crescendo, we saw how big a part it can play in attack and defense, and they're going to have to use it again here. It's not available just yet, and they're going to lose out in this mid turret. It's going to be 3-3 in turrets. Team WE confident they can go for that one. Messiah in the meanwhile stealing away the Wraiths, and Team WE continue on. There is no blue buff to steal, which is where they're heading now, and how are CLG going to react to them?
They're going to continue to try to stall. They're keeping the turrets very even, and this is something that World Elite has to close out. The onus is on them to finish this one. Nocturne and Shen will not be as strong if this game just... Well, Shen will, but Nocturne is going to have trouble assassinating as it gets later and later. Froggen's Karthus powers up really high. The Crescendo dance duration gets more and more impactful as the fights finish. CLG EU putting their stall game on. They're down 7 kills to 1. But they're right in control of what they're doing right now.
They're right in control. The gold difference is only 1,700 gold. Not that great when you're considering it's at 30,000 plus. So, how do you see the item builds going? We can see the Bloodthirster already on Jace. Meanwhile, Shen has obviously got that Sunfire Cape already built up there. Looks like a Wit's End probably going to come out next from Chow Mei. How do you spread it across the board? And obviously looking at Vlad compared to Zakarthus as well.
So looking at Messiah right now, when he gets that death cap, the Magic Pen is going to crush down. Normally, the Magic Pen build from Vladimir is more successful against teams that don't go. Oh, big fight down by Weezao.
Big fight, bottom lane. Weezao diving on towards Yellow Pete. He's got now to it, and Yellow Pete realizes the goose is cooked. Weezao's going to take him down in a 1v1 fight. Weezao very strong and picking up the red buff off Yellow Pete.
Just stead in that bush, got the ultimate to start the fight, catching Yellow Pete completely by surprise, and with that Trinity Force, he just got the Phage procs and trained through. This is the pressure WE needs to apply here. They have Shen split pushing in the top lane. His ultimate's back in a couple seconds. The other 4 are pushing down the bottom turret. CLG EU has to really try hard to stall here. Wicked's going to try to stop Shen from coming in, but the other 4 are probably going to get this turret uncontested.
Yeah, that turret definitely going down. FCZF going around the backside, wants to try and maybe open things up with a Dazzle. The ping came down, they were aware of his situation, and they back off, but the blue has spawned just at the right moment. And of course they're going to go in there. Wicked versus Chow Mei though. Wicked had to knock Chow Mei away there. I think Chow Mei's going to come out really careful. He's got to be very careful with this one. He's going to use the acceleration gate. He won't be able to get away. The taunt could come out, could get a full length taunt here from Chow Mei. He's just about in range if he balances it. No, he's going to bait him instead. He's going to try and get towards the taunt. He's going to go down, and that's a straight 1v1 exchange. Chow Mei looking strong. You talked about it earlier, how much stronger he's going to be, and he really is dominating.
And this is trouble for CLG EU because 2 members now just lost in straight up 1v1 against their adversaries. Yellow Pete got soloed by Weezao, Chow Mei soloed Wicked. So in a team fight, if those guys are stronger than you, what's actually stronger for CLG EU? The Froggen Defile, if he dies in the right spot, and the Crescendo would be better than the Karthus or potentially some of the Vlad damage, but it's going to be really, really tricky. Losing those fights is making it harder and harder for them to turtle because the stronger they make WE, the harder it is to turtle those turrets, and dying 1v1 just cannot happen in this engagement.
And currently Snoopy only been able to get in and hook 1 person so far, so not being able to really express himself in the jungle. Dragon, now up. 25 minutes gone. Of course, we could be looking at Baron. Reach out, just farming away. And look at the difference between these two. 262 CS compared to 200. Again, massively out-farming Yellow Pete. And just, well, 2,000 gold difference again, just like game one. These are the differences we saw before. And Team WE were very strong in that game.
And Wei Zhao, along with the very new support FZZF, have done such a great job keeping him in these games. A farmed Ezreal is one of the scariest possible AD carries you can get, and this is really odd to me. He has an Aegis of the Legion on Ezreal, so he's actually going for Bruzy dueling. This might have been how he was able to take out Yellow Pete. They have a double Aegis, but that's in case of a Skarner pull, in case of a Crescendo, in case Jace jumps down on him. He's not going to die. He has enough resistances. This is the first time in a competitive setting I've seen that item built on an AD carry.
So we're looking like Baron is going to be started off by Team WE. No vision at the moment from CLG. You just saw it on your screen, so they have no idea this is happening. You can see CLG starting to close around. They're going to pull the ward down and go, God, we're going to have to react to this one very quickly. Immediately they do react. Team WE going to peel off to the side of this one, and CLG do force them back. That Baron was taken very low though, below half health. I think you can see it's just nearly 5,000 hit points left on it, so CLG just about reacting in time. They're going to come around in towards the bottom lane. Can they force something off this one? They know that Ezreal is up the top. He's going to be teleporting back right now, so CLG going to try and drive home a 5-4 advantage.
And I'm just looking at this Ezreal. He has Ninja Tabi as well, so he's all about dueling. He's just countering up against the physical damage. He's almost a bruiser now with Blinks and an AoE ultimate, which is really crazy. I want to watch how these team fights break out as COG EU is now trying to push in. Taric initiates, really WE's initiates all have to be Flash Taunt from Chen or something. They don't have something nearly as strong as the Crescendo or the Skarner hook. So CLG EU not in a terrible position here trying to shut down. As the game gets later, they might be able to pull it out.
Well, they're trying to poke comp, what we saw earlier on. And obviously it was from Team WE in the first game as well. They went very much with the poke, back and forward, back and forward. And you can see it just driving down the hit points. Clearlove's there, FZZF. They may be able to get the turret off the back of this one. They've already forced Vlad back. Messiah's coming back now to lane. The turret already taken half the hit points. Wei Zhao now on the side there. They've got to be very careful. They don't get caught out from that one. The ultimate already used so by Wei Zhao will be available very soon. That's True Shot Barrage is very much on a quick cooldown. And there we go, CLG EU again, just driving home and trying to chip away at this turret. And it seems to be working for them. The question is, have they left it a little bit too late? There's the conga line of minions coming in. Messiah, looks like Team WE want to go for this, and they want to try and pull something off the back of this one. And Yellow Pete very cautious in getting a couple of attacks on towards that turret.
And they've done a really good job, actually. Every member of their team has went back and shopped individually while the others held that turret. The fact they hadn't lost it yet is a testament to how well they're turtling here. They're just trying to get powered up before the next team fight. They're making sure their lanes are split pushing. They may just lose the tower here because Nocturne show top, or will CLG EU be too scared of the Nocturne ult? Because an initiation could very well come out of WE here.
He's off the side. He was waiting for Nocturne, waiting for Clearlove to come back there. And very much aware of the fact that he could be coming at the side and start initiating something there. So they all backed away from that one. Despite the fact the wave was there. The tower down to next to nothing here. Snoopy coming around, the Wraith being picked up, wards being used all over the map. Very much a poke game. And they're just waiting for one team to make that small mistake.
It's still only a 4,000 gold advantage despite the 8 kill advantage. And here comes the team fight.
They're going straight in. There's the Vladimir ultimate. They managed to catch it across two members. Yellow Pete still low, managed to avoid the damage. Froggen very low. And I think CLG should be able to avoid the damage off the back of this one. You can see Crepo going to keep the speed up. There's the acceleration gate. They're going to try and push them right back in towards the turret. Are they going to follow it through? Wicked's going to try and beat them back. And I think, just like we saw Team WE, they're going to get taken one by one. Wicked's got to be very careful. You saw Clearlove and FZZF just up to the side there, trying to pick through. That's where we saw some crazy Blizzard hooks earlier on.
So now they're trying to poke back down. Even in the previous game when team fights were even, WE would always try to push off the back of them. Now COGU all having to go to shop. WE has a giant wave pushing in the bottom. They need to clear that out, otherwise they're going to take a tower. Someone's going to have to go back and finish that. That's going to give CLG some breathing room to try to get back here. And the stalling is working out very well. They're scouting the Baron buff here. This is really just CLG's classic stall.
Yeah, Wicked getting an attack on the Baron, causing FZZF to take the damage. That bottom lane wave has been dealt with. And Wei Zhao, we saw stealing away the blue buff as well on your screens. 30 minutes gone in this game, and it is a 5,000 gold difference. Team WE already 1-0 up, looking like they are strong favourites to make it into the semi-finals versus Azubu Frost, but do not rule CLG EU out. Rule them out at your peril. Moscow 5 did it once, and they were on the back end of a hiding. And honestly, as it is, Team WE, they have the power, but they are just getting poked and driven back by CLG EU constantly here. We've got to be careful they don't get caught out, like something like Wei Xiao right now, just taunting, flirting with Snoopy, saying, come on, hook me.
And now they're poking down the mid lane again. We saw in the last fight, WE tried the full-on engage, and CLG could completely disengage. So right now, that's a good spot for CLG to be in. The fact that if they don't want to fight, they've proven they don't have to. They have enough disengagement, and WE doesn't have strong enough stick. So really, they get to pick their fights, even though they're behind a bit. The main force here for WE in that situation would have to be a Baron. You need to make CLG come to them. It's just with their lead being so minor here, only about 5,000 gold, is that enough? Is it worthwhile to put yourself in the back of Baron? And they're taking that mid tower, closing it even closer.
Well, Team WE were nowhere near reacting to that one. So we're all squaring towers, 4-4. And that's Wei Xiao picking up the second blue buff. So he's taking them all. That's getting somewhat greedy, some might feel, but he's definitely going to have that one. The split push, of course, down the bottom, you can see Chow Mei. The dragon will be available any second, but Chow Mei just driving it home, continuing to push on. There comes Wicked to try and head him off. Just stop things. Which may mean they'll force something elsewhere. And wow, look at Wicked, get the exchange coming out there. There is a huge creep wave though that Wicked would be able to farm off the back of. Froggen having to use that wall of pain to keep them at bay from Yellow Pete. And it's looking like a two-man Baron.
They're trying to do it here. They have FCZF, and Wei Xiao doesn't have a whole bunch of damage because of his very defensive build, but CLG EU is trying to scout it. Looks like Snoopy's going to pop over with the ward, and this might not work out for them.
Well, he has put the ward down. Are they going to risk it? No. It's definitely a wise choice to back away from that one. But meanwhile, Wicked and Wei Xiao, and Chow Mei, sorry, very much an even exchange now. We'll see the damage that he managed to put down on him. But again, Shen, he needs to keep him occupied. This is what you talked about. He needs to keep him busy, keep him fighting. That way he can't use his ultimate to come across. He can't get in there, and that's what prevented them. Instead, they're just going to pick up the dragon as a booty prize.
They have the pressure here, and that was a pretty good duel actually by Wicked. Shen's build has not quite progressed. Wicked's very squishy. The fact that he's not getting beaten by Shen anymore is a good sign for CLG. When he was getting 1v1'd earlier, that would be the end of it, because if you need to send 2 members for Shen, that pretty much just ends the game for you. Wei Xiao needs to get that last Whisper finished. He's went with an immensely defensive build thus far, and that might be hurting them slightly in these fights. Since CLG is all about disengaging and isn't actually fighting back, WE needs the all-out damage. If they want to create something to happen, they have to start getting aggressive with their item choices and with their play, because the longer this goes, I think the more comfortable CLG EU becomes.
We're seeing a potential troll coming out. Vlad could definitely go for a rabbit. He's got the Rabadon's death cap. He's going to go for the Azonia's Hourglass as well. See that other needs now rod in there. 282 CS to 297, so nearly 300 CS already for Froggen. We are a long way into it compared to the last game though. They are collapsing in for that top turret. They do not want to allow another turret to go down. And actually that's a bit more farm for Wicked there, 9,000. But you can see it's 1,000 gold difference to Shen. Looking at Froggen versus, well, Froggen's actually very much even in terms of gold, but still that huge gold difference is very much Wei Xiao versus Yellow Pete.
And that all that gold difference, oh, as we see an initiation attempted on Messiah, he's going to disengage. That gold difference is all in the Aegis of the Legion, so damage perspective-wise, if they can keep Yellow Pete safe, he's got actually a little bit more damage than Wei Xiao right now. It's just, Wei Xiao's much, much harder to kill.
Well, they know that Wei Xiao is off the difference there. Are they going to try and choose that advantage? He did show himself. The ping's going down from... I think Team WE wanted to continue push now. I think they wanted Wei Xiao just to stay there. Instead, Shen's going to go across. They can keep that split push. Of course, if CLG were to try and force something at the Baron, he could easily just ultimate across and join the fight. As it is, Tariq got to be very careful. He wants to get in and put some wards down. And CLG kind of in that back and forth position. They're not quite sure where they should go right now.
And WE, in my opinion, is also not quite sure where they want to go right now, because they have not been able to force fights on CLG, and this is honestly starting to get a little reminiscent of the M5 versus CLG EU game at DreamHack, just because they've only had 1 kill the entire game, but they're still in it and they're still stalling. And it's just a matter of WE has tried a few things to create action, and it just hasn't really worked, and they haven't committed fully to any of these things. They're waiting so long that by the time they actually fully commit, it could be the end of the game for them if they lose the fight. I was them, I would try to get a little bit more aggressive right now, because if something fails now, you might have time to come back from it since the death timers aren't 70 seconds long yet. However, they keep waiting. They're hoping CLG EU makes a mistake, but CLG EU is one of the best stalling teams in the land. It's going to be very difficult for them.
So a Deathfire Grasp has just been picked up by Froggen on Carthus.
Deathfire Grasp is one of his favorite items, and this is just, if they try to initiate in on them, if Nocturne jumps on him, DFG's hitting him right away, and with how much ability power that is, it's going to be 40% of Nocturne's health almost straight away. That's a great item for Froggen's Carthus. He's going to be getting more magic penetration later, but that is not surprising. Really good build so far by Carthus, just powering up.
Weezhou on that top lane. He's got to be careful he doesn't get caught out. You can see that Snoopy heading up that way. Just going to clear the wave out. CLG doing a great job of, just like you say, just continuing just to hold, stall, farm out. And honestly, now we are looking at a massive late game. It's definitely getting to that stage again. Baron gets targeted there, and MCZF gets attacked. The Ezreal True Shot Barrage there going across the yellow feet, not doing a great deal of damage off that one. Obviously, the big difference is he did go for that tanky build.
Nocturne up top!
Nocturne up top, they're going to dive towards Wicked. Wicked manages to knock him away. He has got the Ignite on, but that's going to be the turret damage going down there. He's got no support just yet. They are also triggering on Baron. Baron is going down as well, so Wicked is trying to keep them away from this inhibitor turret. Now we can look over Baron, please. You can see that CLG is starting to go in there. There's the Crescendo going across. That's going to be the Vladimir ultimate. Meanwhile, Wicked and Carthus is trying to force them away. That's going to be Froggen picking up the kill on Chow Mei. The ultimate's coming across. Is it going to help Snoopy out? He's going to get the double kill off the back of it. He's taken down Nocturne. MCZF has managed to survive though, and Yellow Pete backs away from that one. Very much a close exchange, but it was a 1-for-2, and CLG coming out on top for the first time in that one. Very crazy fight.
You could see what WE's plan was there, was to distract everyone up top and then sneak the Baron, but CLG had the perfect counter for it. They stopped the Shen teleport as well as the Shen push bottom. That was an amazingly quick reaction by CLG, and they held off that ploy by WE. WE now going to be really struggling to find what to do next, because that's the second time they've tried to force something very hard, and neither of them have been successful. That one actually backfired a little bit.
And the tanking is starting to get going, building towards the Frozen Mallet there for Wicked. So Wicked now with the damage and the tank. We're going to have a replay coming up with this one. Take us through it, Jack.
And here's the huge thing. Wicked waiting and waiting for Froggen to come in. The Baron's going on. They try to teleport in, but he knocks him back. And because he was looking at the other fight when he teleported in, because he was trying to get there, Wicked did a great job holding his knockback. The double kill then came out from Carthus. So Shen tried to be a global presence. Froggen was a global presence, and that's why CLG came out in that fight.
A couple of items being completed. Zonya's Hourglass for Messiah. We knew that one's being built. Force of Nature by Chow Mei, though. Infinity Edge also being picked up by Yellow Pete. And again, the Baron poke comes out there, and they just force it away. Crepo doing a grand job of keeping them at bay.
Seems like WE does not want to try a full-on engagement at Baron. That's why they keep trying to sneak it with a couple people. They don't want to fight.
Crepo continuing to just aggress. Every time FZZF, he goes in to try and take that Baron, he's just poking. Here he comes again. He's just going to queue on towards the Baron. I don't think he's going to be able to do it this time. Very cautious. He didn't get caught out by Weezhou. And the poke back and forward continued. So, late game. We're getting there. We are there. Who would you give it to in terms of a team fight right now?
The fact that CLG has stalled this long and they have the Carthus Sona, very good synergy. I do think CLG might actually have pulled ahead here just based on how long they've waited, and it shows in the play that WE has been trying to pull off. They're trying to split CLG up. They've had an opportunity, if they've wanted it, to put 5 men on Baron and then peel when CLG comes to stop them, but they haven't done that in the past 20 minutes, so there's no real reason for them to do it now. Really, it's so much patience by CLG and just know-how that WE can't force anything strong on them here. When Nocturne jumps in on these fights, he's going to get obliterated almost immediately. The DFG is going to come down and hit him. Corki now has more damage than Weezhou because he has not went for a defensive build. And if they can't directly jump on Yellow Pete, that tank build of Weezhou isn't going to come into any use.
Dragon being picked up by Team WE, and it's a 7k gold difference currently. Towers dead even. 4v4. They're going to try and catch on there. Throwing pressure down. The wall of paints off Messiah. Messiah getting shredded. The Vlad, I don't think he's going to catch away. Froggen gets the kill though. Can they turn this into something? Yellow Pea having to Valkyrie away there, just about getting caught out, but CLG now going to try and push the advantage on, and the crowd definitely turning in favour. They're going to try to pick up the Baron off the back of this one. I'm not too sure it's a great thing to go for, though.
They've waited so long, they have not made any moves. This is their move. They got the pick onto Vladimir. They may as well just try this. Shen's trying to split push. They're going to force him to come in. They are going for this, or they're going to peel. Wicked's behind the side.
They're going to peel. Froggen looks like he wants to catch it. He's caught the wall of pain. He's going to go for FCZ. FCZ's going to get dropped down. Clearlock, meanwhile, there's the Shen ultimate. He comes in. Weezhou still off to the side, giving the damage. That's the Hawk from Zubi. Clearlock goes down. Double kill again for Froggen. Now they can turn to Baron in safety and surely pick it up.
They're still potentially going to try to stall, but that was an amazing peel. They got the carb swell down. They have the initiation. WE clearly does not, because they are not fighting on their own terms here. CLGU trying to get it. Ezra's going to try to come in and steal with his ultimate, but that is not even going to be close. That was for Harass. Here comes CLGEU now. The stall has happened 40 minutes into the game. They've gotten 5 of the last 6 kills. They're in control.
Yellow Pete's going aggressive there. He wants to catch out Weezhou. I'm not too sure if Weezhou is actually sticking around, you know. He wants to still get aggressive on this one. Look at the damage he's still trying to put out to them. Not too sure that's the wisest thing in a 2-on-1 situation, but they do manage to harass. They've taken the inhibitor turret there. Very nicely done by Chow Mei. Picking up off the back of that one. There's a flash comes out. That's a cleanse. I think that was a quick silver slash actually from Weezhou there, but Snoopy might be able to hook onto him. Instead, they spot in the middle, Messiah coming round. Messiah's trying to close in. Yellow Pete, he's had the ultimate down on Messiah. How much damage will that take up? Oh, that chunked him down, but it was not to be. They pulled off at the right moment.
Now the counter aggression is potentially on. It seems like WE is a bit lost, though. Their disorganization in these last few bits have cost them. They're now trying to regroup. They need to keep their composure. That delay may have put them a bit on tilt. They haven't been able to finish this here. They get another turret, so the gold advantage is still in their favor, but CLG has the Baron buff. They are still up inhibitors. Having that inhibitor open does give WE some access to the base, but they lose team fights at this point. This has been shown, so CLG actually in control despite the positioning on the map.
Yeah, and we often say that Baron is worth around about 8,000 gold, which actually in terms of this at the moment, if they were to force a fight, would definitely give them the advantage. But Team WE really driving home a bit of a lapse of daisicalness from CLG. So, you know, the big advantage they picked up off the back of that. Team WE have responded and picked up 3 turrets after the Baron was taken.
It really seems like CLG was low on health and mana and wanted to buy, and WE had all respawned right after the Baron takeoff. Now they're pushing up mid, WE trying to get back, and this is such a great position for CLG to be in because WE can't necessarily engage the crescendo. Such a good stop. They have the acceleration gate from Jace, they have the slowing wall from Froggen. Complete control. They will fight on CLG's terms. If they want to poke the tower, they will. If W wants to fight, they can't.
They need to try and get in there early. Now Team WE though have responded, and the poke again from CLG should be strong. We saw it earlier on when they took that middle in a turret, and you can see the poke going back. FZZ taken completely down there. Weezhou though, the tankiness showing through there. You can see he's just going to life-steal it back. All that damage that goes out. We saw how strong Messiah's ultimate was when he caught onto towards Yellow Pete. Yellow Pete's got to be very, very careful. He doesn't get caught out by that this time. Has got no magic resistance at all, so anything from Messiah would definitely be very painful for Yellow Pete.
The thing with Froggen here is all of CLG kills are concentrated on him. He is close to maxed out on items. If there's a big fight here, he's going to be the one dying, and they would actually have to be fairly careful. The steal coming through by Weezhou. Very nice ultimate.
Very, very nice stuff from Weezhou. We've seen a few of those this tournament as well. It's definitely a move that a lot of players have been making use of. Oh, CLG going to continue pushing here. With Team WE a little bit out of position. Are they going to collapse around them? I'm not too sure. Team WE has been known to collapse on opponents before and make it work. And instead we're seeing Wicked using the acceleration, poking out. And I think Team WE are going to be able to respond and close back in. There is a creep wave on the bottom pushing in for CLG. So they're going to have that available to switch to in a few moments if they don't quite get the poke on this turret that they want. Yellow Pete, you can see, just putting a couple of those rockets out, trying to keep poking, but Weezhou is too tanky and the lifesteal's coming out too strong. All the pain, not going to be able to do a great deal. They are going to drop the creep waves, but honestly, Team WE are reacting very quickly. Expect them to rotate down to that bottom lane for that big creep wave.
And WE really needs to trick CLG into fighting in a bad spot because they've been in this situation for so long, have not been able to initiate anything. CLG's experience really coming in huge here. Most teams, when you're down 1-0 in a tournament and then 9 kills to 1 in the next game, you would give up. But CLGU was in complete control, and now they're poking down this turret really hard.
They realized that Weezhou had backed off, and suddenly they took that advantage and shredded the turrets. Bottom turret now gone down. Minions did it themselves. on that bottom lane. It's 7-5 in turrets, and that gold gap gets ever shorter. Just 5,000 gold now. We were at about 8,000 at one point, and again, this is what we talked about. Do not rule CLG out. Once they get to that late stalled out game, they generally know what they're doing. This is in their territory right now, and Team WE are up against it.
And this is the team play. The most experienced teams seem to be better in team fights and the late game. We saw it earlier. WE has 2 new members, so a lot of times you can get your early game coordination because so much of that is laning and individual skill, and you can prep for the first 20 minutes of the game. But once it breaks down, once all the towers are there, once everyone's roaming around as 5, it really matters how much experience you have together. And CLG EU, with the trip to Korea, with the gaming house, knowing each other since the game launched, playing together in Europe, they are showing how coordinated they can be because they have come back from a very big disadvantage, stalled extremely well, kept their cool, and they team fight like champions.
I think it's safe to say we're in the longest game of the tournament so far. 45 minutes gone in this one, 10-6 in kills, and the creep score of the opponents is definitely getting very high. 433 CS for Wei Zhao. Meanwhile, Yellow Pete on 335. That goal difference is 3k difference, but that's not such a big deal right now because those end builds are starting to come out. So while we're talking about it's a 3k goal difference, which in itself is big, if you look at the items, you can see he's got the Trinity Force, the Infinity Edge, the Guardian Angel, which is a big key thing. It's something we saw Moscow 5 obviously generally relying on. However, you look at Wei Zhao, if he can be allowed to do all the damage, he's got a hell of a lot of it. Bloodthirst, the Trinity Force, Last Whisper, Quicksilver Sash to escape, and he uses the Legion to defend. He is very, very strong come a team fight.
And it's just a matter of the team fights aren't coming for him because CLG is unengageable in a lot of ways. This was potentially won at Champion Select if CLG EU can take it down. Shen trying to sneak a split push on the inhibitor.
He's going to backdoor the inhib.
He's definitely going to try. This is their gambit because they know they can't get team fights. If they can somehow sandwich CLG between them, then maybe they can create something. He's actually having to fall back because at this point, Wicked may have built enough damage that Shen can no longer duel him.
Yeah, he definitely has to back off, go for the lane. Well, the Baron buff will be wearing off shortly, but CLG have made use of it. They've taken one of the turrets, the inhibitor turret, down to absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, obviously, CLG's inhibitor turret on the bottom lane is gone. It is very, very close between these two. Baron's up in 30 seconds, which is why we're seeing CLG backing off. They are going to farm up, make sure they're fully prepared for this next Baron fight. And you can see Team WE have already backed off as well, so they're getting prepared for it. So the next fight is definitely going to be a game changer.
This is going to be the turning point really for both teams because previous Barons have been World Elite poking around and having the advantage while trying to split push, but this time it's now CLG EU who has the upper hand. You don't see it in the gold, you don't see it in the kills, but you see it in the way the teams are playing because all of the pressure and control is in the hands of Froggen's team. So here, they're poking down. The Shen split push is now forcing something. It's going to be a matter of CLG having to force something or send him back because otherwise they're going to lose this backdoor inhibitor.
He's on the inhibitor. Shen is going to be working on it. We can see CLG going to push their own inhibitor. Shen's going to have to react. He's going to try and steal that inhibitor, then ultimate back. Here we go. There they go. The turning point comes in. CLG were well aware of that one. They managed to knock Lilo back. Snoopy's in there, trying to look at all the action going on. Yellow Pete's going to get taken down very low. Messiah's going to get in there. Pops the ultimate across the entire team. The crescendo comes across. The Dazonia's hourglass was popped. CLG are dropping like flies on the back of this one. Team WE are definitely coming out on top. There's the Carthus ultimate though. Should be able to come back out. Doesn't pick up the kill. Messiah and Wicked in there. But Chow Mei comes back. Guardian Angel comes back. He takes down Crepo just the last round. Crepo manages to get the kill. Yellow Pete very low. Chow Mei should be able to get a taunt on him. He's got the help of his support. Ever the support is there, and it's a 3-on-4 exchange. CLG coming out on top. More importantly, the AD carry alive, and they're gonna take that inhibitor down.
The first big play there by CLG EU, pushing into the base. The fans chanting CLG behind us. Everyone's gonna be rezzing after this. They can't go for a two-man Baron. The one inhib for the other. Shen, Chow Mei's trying to push back a bit. That inhibitor, still full health. He could not get very started on it.
Did not get started on it, but Chow Mei definitely farming up like a pro. But yeah, he couldn't get involved in it. We're going to see a replay of the last fight. Jan, take us through that craziness.
This was a crazy extended fight. So much of this was WE.
Walk out, we need blast.
I'm coming for Vlad this side.
I'm running on Vlad.
I'm going for Vlad. I have HQ.
Let's go. We need Asphalt out of fighting. I can't kill this, I cannot kill this.
Keep for this.
He's down!
Yes! Shen! Tarek! Shen here. Keep it on, Pete. You need to hit him, you need to hit him. Peach. Nice. Yes. Get the in-hit, get the in-hit. Get the in-hit, get the in-hit. You can live steal. You can live steal.
You can see what it means to these teams. They are very much passionately involved in this game. And that was a pretty crazy fight.
There was so much going on. You could actually see the target calls coming out, potentially a bit confusing. They were calling Tarek when he wasn't even close to the battle. They were maybe not fully coordinated there, but they still came out on top. That was the first time WWE actually initiated. They got the Shen taunt onto multiples, and that was the only brawl we've really seen in this entire 50-minute game. But because they came out on top of that, they managed to drop Tank Reach out. He's now abandoned the tank build, went for full Infinity Edge Glass Cannon, now much more damage. CLG trying to clear wards around the Baron area. They're scouting with that Ezreal ult, trying to help with the blue buff. And ooh, Messiah had to take that away. This is going to be really, really game deciding, the next big fight, because the death timers are huge. And if we don't see another crazy trade of 4 members alive on both sides, something will end.
A good chunk of damage going in towards Clearlove and Chalmei's face there as they walk straight headlong into that bush. The acceleration gate, bunch of shots there. Look at that. Wei Zhao's been lost a bit of health. He's going to be able to life steal that back, but COG definitely poking down at Team WE. They have no vision of that Baron at all. No vision of what CLG are doing. So every time, every attempt they try and make to try and squeeze those wards in there, there's only 1 ward available now to Team WE. They're almost out of wards. They're going to have to go blind into this fight. FZZ, you can see, he really wants to get that ward in, but he's so careful he doesn't get hooked out. That wall of pain, the acceleration gate, if every time they go close, they're getting a burst of damage in their face.
This is just CLG controlling here. They might catch out Clearlove here. They're going for it.
They're going for Clearlove. Has he got him? Yes, he does. Clearlove's going to get dropped down here. He's going to try and use his ultimate. He's going to get away. It is not going to happen. Froggen picks up the kill off the back of this one. CLG now in a 4-man advantage. Going to turn it back to Baron. They're not going to drive it home, which is a wise choice. There's a huge creep wave on the bottom inhibitor turret right now for CLG. If you just look down there, look at that. That's going to work the damage. They're going to have to deal with it. Team WE have backed off this one. It's going to be a Baron for CLG.
A free Baron here, 52 minutes into the game. They're pulling ever closer to that gold, but the gold does not matter for CLG right now. People are at max item builds. They have the better late game team comp, and more importantly, they stick together. They have not been getting picked off. WE has been getting picked off. They're pushing down these turrets now. What is going to be able to stop them? Because they have been so patient. They have played together so incredibly well, and now they might be able to finish this one off.
We talk about that huge death timer, still over 20 seconds on Clearlove. Clearlove's not going to be involved in this fight, and now you can see Wicked just drilling home. The difference of having Jace and Yellow Pete in there, they can just have a double AD attack. They are stacking out, and those inhibitors are just getting dropped like flies. Wei Zhao's got to be careful he doesn't get pulled up. They're just going to back away from this one, say job done. When 2 inhibitors are down, it is very, very hard to come back from, and COG EU realize they have a very strong position. Clearlove now back up, and COG are going to just go, thank you very much, we'll go by.
At least for Froggen now, his item build is completely finished. He's going to go back to base and power up on elixirs. Now that they have 2 inhibitors finished, it's time to turn on the game-ending machine. They're going to take probably the bottom inhibitor next when there's 2 waves of super minions pushing into a team's base. The 3rd inhibitor is usually likely to follow as long as the team just groups up in that spot. Yellow Pete picks up a red buff. Chalmei trying to hold off. These guys are nearly at max items, so that gold doesn't matter. The kills don't matter. What does matter is the team comp, the players, how they finish.
So as you hear, the inhibitor is going to be respawning in that mid lane. A couple of items. Guardian Angels, of course, starting to get picked up across the board. Definitely the late game items of choice. 500 plus CS for Xiaomei now. Wei Zhao, sorry. Xiaomei starting to farm up like a pro as well. And wow, such huge numbers, as you'd expect in a 54-minute game. CLG on the attack. Clearlove, again, has to be careful. He doesn't get caught out. That's going to be the speed buff used. Clearlove is going to get caught. He's going to have the shield. He's got a Guardian Angel. It is not going to matter. It's going to get popped back up in a moment, but he is going down from this one. There's no way, even with a flash, the Shen ultimate is going to get dropped down. Shen ultimate now wasted. That's going to be a clear point straight across. Messiah gets dropped. Wei Zhao, look at the damage. He is just getting choked down. CLG are going to take this game We are going to see a third match in this best-of-3 series. Chaume going to respawn off the Guardian Angels. He's going to get dropped off the back of that one. They don't give a hell about him. Now, I had to adopt my words there, but he's going to get taken down. The Nexus turrets are being attacked. They're going to tank it up. CLG EU are taking it to game 3.
And finally, at the end of it, they do come ahead on kills and on goals, so this is incredible.
The crowd are on their feet, the team are on their front feet, and CLG, you see what it means to them. The crowd are chanting their name, and that's got to feel good. After such a long delay, Jack, the mindset of both these sets of players is really going to be affected. After a 55-minute match there, 13-14 at the end. In fact, the goal advantage became CLG's just at the end of it. And Team WWE, they've got to be careful they're not too deflated on the back of that.
You can see Froggen shouting in-game and outside of it. They are so charged right now. And when we saw this is honestly, even though it wasn't 70 minutes, very reminiscent of CLG's play at DreamHack against Moscow 5. Being down 8 or 9 kills and then just coming out on top. After they did that to Moscow 5, they'd won the tournament. Like you saw, Moscow 5 was dejected. They were up so far and they couldn't finish. World Elite can't make the same mistake. They have to get back into the game here because winning a game in that fashion can be demoralizing to the enemy. They seemingly had everything in control. CLGU knew a lot better. They took them out.
They knew a lot better. That poke comp, they dragged it out. They were 9-1 down in kills. Team WE, they realized they had to try and push the advantage. They had that stronger lane comp with the Nocturne, the Shen. They could get involved. But CLG, they are well wise to those tricks. And they did manage to drag it out. So the very first best of 3 here, the third match game will be coming up. We're going to have a replay, though, of that final push, and we're going to hear how crazy it gets for CLG.
No tower. He's slow. Yes! Kill them all! Yes! Kill, go! Finish! Kill first! What? Finish! Turret! No! Get mad! In it! Finish! Oh! Woo! Yeah, baby! Yes! Yes!
Oh, Yellow Pete, forever the German, just not emotional at all, just sat there. It's like, I'm just going to finish the game. You guys celebrate, I'm just attacking the Nexus. I've got to make sure my basic attacks hit perfectly. But, wow, I mean, how do you respond to the reactions of Froggen? I think that's how every CLG fan out there felt.
Every CLG fan was just screaming, yes, every time they came back in those fights. Even from the 9-1, you're just like, they can do it again. I've seen this before. And you could tell they believed it that whole time. After the game, they've turned tournaments like this before. And also, clear love in these situations. One of the newest members of the team, especially a young team like this for World Elite, how did they react to that? Because CLG EU was together, they are charged, screaming in unison there at the end. They're in good shape coming into Game 3.
And that, I mean, the catch out in the middle wasn't so bad. Yes, it happens. But the one in the bottom, that is low level play. You know, getting caught out so far in that bottom lane by the opposition when you've got no vision of them.
It's what happens when you play after an hour-long delay or whatever that was in a 60-minute game. The mental fatigue really starts to hit you, and that might have been happening for World Elite. They have to reset here because there's no way Clear Love would make that mistake normally, but I think under the circumstances, under the pressure, under the mental pressure he is under, it's just, it happens, and they can't let it happen in Game 3.
They cannot let it happen in Game 3. Let's just have a look through some of those scores. 8-2-6 for Froggen, very much in control of his situation. But again, the farming was very, very close between these. In the lane phase, it was massive compared to, WE. Wei Zhao, again, out-farming Yellow Pete. That's something they've still got to be concerned of.
And Wei Zhao may have had the highest minion score in the entire tournament thus far.
513.
513. Just absolutely incredible. And CLGU came together as a team. They do have to key off those things because you can't lose early game. I know World Elite's going to come back with something new next game. They're going to pick much stronger initiation because that was the crux of that entire game. They couldn't start a fight when they were ahead. They know they can get ahead. That's 2 games in a row they got ahead. Even in the one we had to restart, they knew how to get ahead. They're going to make sure they can finish next time.
They are going to make sure they can finish. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have just seen an epic, epic match. 55 minutes and CLG grind it out once again. It's what they do. Well, we are going to get the third match coming up shortly. It's going to have a quick break. It's CLG versus Team WE. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here. It is the Season 2 playoffs. It is the quarterfinals. It's TLG versus Team WE. And chat, we're going to have Game 3.
And wow, the closest semifinals, I have to say, or quarterfinals of all of these games. Going to the third game in classic CLG EU fashion. Long games, pulled out, late game victories.
Late game victories. Typical CLG, I think you could say.
It really is. That's their style in a lot of these ways. They need to win late game. WE has to push early. And it's also WE's style in a lot of ways. They had the fast push strategies early. Sometimes they like taking 2-3 towers by 6 or 8 minutes. They need to be able to just take it out here. And the big crutch of last game, if any of those you missed it, W was way up in the game. CLGEU was down 9 kills to 1, 8 or 9,000. WE could not start a fight for their lives. They just could not get in there. They're going to remedy that come Game 3. I can almost guarantee it.
And the thing is, we were talking about how Skarner couldn't get involved early on. So Snoopy just couldn't get those hooks in, but it didn't matter. They were just playing out the long game, and once he got involved later on, you know, and all the Aegis Legion that Wei Xiao built, it was ineffective because by that time, everybody got Magic Pen, everybody got Armor Pen. They were just shredded him in seconds as soon as they got hold of him.
And that Aegis Legion would have been a good choice against a team who loves to force fights like maybe the Taipei Assassins or Najin Sword or even a Zubu Frost, but not necessarily against CLG because they're the best team at picking their fights, and they realized that he was built for them. Like, he had the Aegis, he had the Ninja Tabi, and they just didn't let him do damage to him. They just completely avoided the fights for the longest time. They managed to stall out at least 30 to 40 minutes before they even decided to start thinking about engaging Ezreal. And that was a really impressive showing of just ultimate team play.
And you know, it's funny talking to the players before it. They like to make fun of our keys to the game. They like to make fun of it. But honestly, we got it nailed. You know,
they played standard.
CLG
they took it late game.
Played standard, took it late game. Messiah didn't deal with Froggen really too well. Oh, look at that. They're zooming in to cut you guys out, bless. I mean, there's all sorts that just didn't. They did. That we just called it. And, you know, they were like, oh, could you not come up with something better? I was like, well, all you do is drive it to late game. That is the CLG style currently.
And even WE, it's just about if they hit their keys, they'll be able to take it in too, because if they just, you know, do the fast pushing, they get things down. If they can 1v1 Wicked later on, because Shen did get picked off a little bit later by Jace. He could never ultimate into team fights. You know?
Apparently the Rainman's number one, but I got to be honest, Rainman's not even here. He didn't get into Season 2. He's not in a team. He is not number one.
Well, it's number one in his heart.
Some would argue who is the number one. Okay, we're going to talk about the who's number one. Do you think it's going to be Shy? Do you think it's, I don't know. Honestly, Chow Mei is looking damn good.
We had that Twitter question from before, and Chow Mei, at least in this game against Wicked, he's been winning the lanes in a lot of these ways. Beating up Wicked early on at least, and with the Jace vs Shen matchup, that was incredibly impressive. If it were not for COG's team play, they were still losing these lanes. So individually, Team WE is coming out ahead of COGEU almost across the board. And we had that question earlier actually about the rest of the tournament, who is going to be the MVP. And just thinking back, so much of it has been in the top lane. There's been Toys in the mid, and Froggen had that amazing 400 minion kill game. But the top laners, Shy, Macnoon, even Chow Mei now, they're really coming out strong. Stanley
against Macnoon. You know, he may have, I'd say, lost a lane, but he was only 0-1, and he kept him in control.
He really did, and it's just a matter of the top laners that are good, and we've seen it here. Wicked is definitely one of them. When they fall behind, they don't lose the game. They keep their farm up. They always find ways to contribute in team fights. And it's an interesting watching these top lanes because so much of it is about camping and 2v1s, and at least what we've heard is top lane is toxic or something, and you gank the top lane too often and it becomes unwinnable for someone. All they have to do is freeze the lane. But the very top players, the masters of top lane, aren't letting that affect them. When they match up against each other, it's pretty even, almost regardless of the ganks.
And I mean, we looked at the bottom lane. Certainly in this game, Yellow Pete has not had, or let's not just focus on Yellow Pete. Yellow Pete and Crepo have struggled somewhat in that bottom lane. Wei Xiao outfarmed them the 2 games. If we look at Kane and Prey for Najin Sword, they definitely outfarmed them in those games. What is it they're going to do?
When I was talking actually with Mistake, this was ways back when he was at the Riot Games World Invitational, we asked him, who's the best AD? And he said, this guy's, because he was sitting next to Messiah, who was on Team WE. He was talking about Wei Zhao over 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's impressive to watch because Yellow Pete and Crepo have so long been just almost the standard in Europe for how good they're able to farm, how long they can get to late game. And they are just getting out-farmed by Wei Zhao and FCZF. So it's just, to get back into this game for them, you want to say Snoopy would have to help him, but I don't think that would work just because of how strong the ward coverage is coming out from FCZ. They probably just need to adapt. The Ezreal pick didn't really work for or against. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do. If they do something sneaky, if they see it as a problem, I'd see them going to a non-conventional, go away from the big three. I know that Yellow Pete's been practicing a lot of Varus. Crepo said, we should just done Varus, at least back in the group stage early on.
Against Najee
If,
Sword,
if they pulled that out, I would be excited to see, but even that's kind of what DJ we talked about earlier. You got to be careful when you pull those things out because the fans love to see it, but are you really ready to play it?
Yeah, are you really ready? And are the rest of the team ready? That's the question. I mean, so when we look at that, Wei Zhao definitely one of the stronger. What sort of bans are they going to go with in this one? We saw Blitzcrank banned out in the last game. Very much successful ban, they have to say, because they won.
I think it's going to be much like we saw in the first game where the winning team will keep the same bans and the losing team will switch it up a bit. So COG, if I had to think back, they're going to go Orianna ban, Twisted Fate ban, Blitzcrank ban. I think that's going to be the same. The only variation for that is if they first pick one of the things they don't ban, because they've probably swapped back to that. From World Elite side, I think the first 2 bans are very much going to stay the same. They're going to make sure they get rid of Aurelia, and they're going to make sure they get rid of Anivia. Alistair, maybe not so much, because Snoopy's early ganks, even on Maokai, who's very strong, haven't really paid off for them. They could give up the Alistair or just